What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news. Streaming live for you guys over on our YouTube page today. You can also catch us live not only over on Twitch, but also Facebook Live. If you want to go ahead, check us out over on our Facebook page. And for those of you joining us over on Spotify, you'll probably get this episode, if not later on tonight, then definitely first thing Monday morning. So feel free to follow us on Spotify if you have not done so yet. There is a link in the description box below if you're a fan of audio versions of our shows. And they also do video now as well, so you can catch us over on Spotify. So thank you very much, everybody, for certainly joining us. It is a lovely Sunday afternoon out here in Fort Worth, Texas, wherever you guys are at. Hopefully the weather is certainly treating you guys well. Also, we're in that spring summer mode, ladies and gentlemen. So I am really looking forward to the next couple of months around here. But we got ourselves some great topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys. We're going to be discussing the CW as more cancellations are certainly on the way. What's going to happen with Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights? We'll definitely talk a little bit about that. Eric Wallace opens up about his hope that the Arrowverse will certainly return. We'll pick our brains in regards to that also. Marvel also went ahead and announced new release dates for their Loki and Echo series. So we'll definitely get into our Marvel bag. And then we got some discussion in regards to a possible Karate Kid movie with some casting announcements for that, along with even Venom 3. So a lot to definitely go ahead and discuss today. But it's not just myself here, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a minute, but we've got the entire crew today. All the boys are in the house. The returning Indy Uchiha is certainly joining us. And of course, good old Stuart Branscombe from the West Coast here as well. What's up, fellas? It's so virtual hug. I missed all you guys. What's up, y'all? How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing well. As well as I can be. Excited to be back. You know how it is. I say it every time. I come back and now I feel like I'm at home. Something is complete in me, and it's just the way you start off the week. If you don't start off the week with Hero Report, your week isn't going to be right.
No, I totally feel you, man. Yeah, and even though you're not able to be on the shows, I almost feel like every week I can tell that you're bummed about not being here, man. So we always appreciate when you are around and already hitting us with these super chats, showing her love and support. What's up, Blossom? Appreciate you coming through. Hiya, Adam. Tian Kai. That means what's up. Hey, okay, what's up? I'm assuming that's maybe Japanese. So if I'm wrong, correct me, Blossom. But thank you so much for the super chat. And listen, guys, if you definitely want to go ahead and support the channel, if you can monetarily, we certainly would appreciate it. All the funds that you support here, whether that be on YouTube or even on Facebook, definitely does go ahead and lifting up the production value of our channel here. As we'll be putting that money towards better quality visuals, better products for us, whether that be mics or cameras, an opportunity to go to more conventions to provide coverage for you guys, some merchandising, getting some new rebranding going around here that hopefully we'll certainly have for you guys within the next couple of weeks. So a lot of moving pieces due to your guys' support. So feel free to go ahead and submit over a super chat, a super image. We'll definitely cut whatever we're doing to go ahead and show you guys love and support for helping us out, certainly here as a channel. But if you can't help us out monetarily, that's certainly more than fine. Another great way that's free. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, guys, and certainly share these videos. So thank you very much, Blossom, for certainly coming through once again. Let's give some shout outs to people that are in the chat with us today. We got Marcelino in the house. Thank you so much, Marcelino, for certainly joining us today. We'll get through some of these comments later on. Enrique is certainly in the house as well. Who else we got? Datilla is here. Thank you so much, Datilla. She says, we doing predictions on Thursday for Night of the Champions on Saturday? Yes, I do plan on that. Maybe if Indy, I don't know if what Indy's schedule is like a Thursday night. Maybe we can have him join us, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. But yes, Datilla will definitely be doing some sort of predictions in that regards. And of course, Enrique Perez is in the house. Oh, did I give him love some already? Yeah, I already did. But he does say, sorry, Adam, I just saw a promo for the next Pixar movie, Elemental, and it will air a sneak peek during the American Idol season 21 finale on ABC tonight. Can't wait to see it. Yeah, I went to the movies the other day, fellas, and I finally got the chance to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And they did place an Elemental trailer at the beginning. I've actually been really fascinated by this movie since the teaser came out. It feels like it's one of those Pixar rom-coms almost, just animated. But I'm kind of digging it. What do you guys been thinking about these Elemental trailers that you've seen so far?
I think I only saw the teaser, and I remember people making a bunch of comparisons with the main character and Osmosis Jones, and I can
Yes.
definitely see that.
I can totally see that. I could totally see that.
It reminds me. It reminds me of that Pixar Inside Out. That's what it reminds me of.
Yes, I can definitely see a collaboration of all those together to make this movie. So we'll see how it turns out, but I'm really looking forward to it. As for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I really enjoyed the movie, guys. I had a really good time watching it. I thought the High Evolutionary was a great villain. I think James Gunn just really hit the nail on the head with just the emotions from it, the amazing soundtrack also, really cool action sequence, if you ask me, when they infiltrate the base at the end. I thought that was incredible, just that really long shot that they wind up having in here. So yeah, I was a really big fan of it, man. It felt like the MCU is back, if you will, but it's a shame that this is James Gunn's last hurrah. But I had a really good time with it, man. How about you guys? Maybe we'll do a spoiler review sometime this week.
Perfect movie to go out on if this is like going to be your finale for the Marvel universe, and you're also trying to hype us up for like future projects that you got going on for the DC universe. This is the perfect movie for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. What did you think of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Indy?
For this particular movie, I feel like it makes you okay with him doing Superman Legacy. When you go and you look at the trilogy of these movies and how these movies have grown over the 3 films that he put out, I feel like this was probably a perfect finale. The only trilogy in the MCU that I would honestly put ahead of it is probably Spider-Man, but I feel like Spider-Man has something going ahead of itself for being able to come out after Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I'm saying? To see how something was put together. It's definitely one of the best films I have seen since Winter Soldier Endgame, as far as like if you just take it as a standalone, you know what I'm saying, Marvel movie. He put his foot in this, and I'm honestly now looking forward to seeing what he puts together with Superman. I'm not hyped for it, but it's like, okay, I'll let you do it since you did that, you know what I'm saying, type of thing.
No, I feel you, and I think we've said this before in here a report. I don't know if you were on the episode or not, Indy, but I stated, there's a lot of worry that I felt like people had about James Gunn. I mean, they already have the hashtag fire James Gunn started before they've even seen what this man is doing when it comes to DC. But one of the things that I mentioned was it would not be surprising to me if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 does extremely well, that it would be a friendly reminder for people of just seeing exactly what James Gunn is capable of and what he can do. And jumping off of what you stated, Indy, about the growth, seeing this as a trilogy, just seeing the growth of a lot of these characters, like Nebula especially was hella impressive by Karen Gillan. Just seeing the turn that Drax has kind of taken from the first one, especially just sort of the more lighthearted side of him towards the end of this episode, the end of this particular movie. Also, I think he's done a really good job of not only creating characters, but also establishing and showing the growth of these characters also. So I've been hella impressed with what James Gunn has been able to do.
I'm sorry for a second. I don't know if Datilla will agree with me, but I keep looking at Stewart and I'm getting Chris Jericho vibes.
Oh, like, yeah, most definitely. The hair and everything. Totally. Yeah. He's just gonna rock. He's just gonna break out into like a Chris Jericho song any minute.
Yeah.
I'm Googling what he looks like right now.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Ram Jam.
I should be offended by this.
No. Shout out to Ram Jam in the house, and I think India already brought up Tony. What's up, Tony? Appreciate you coming through for us also.
Oh, okay, I can kind of see that. I mean, way less muscles, but if that's right. How you see me, I'm totally fine with that.
Well, let's go ahead and transition over to our honorable mentions segment here, guys, and start talking about it. Anybody got any honorable mentions you want to start off or kick the show off with?
Man, I got a lot. It's hard to try to, you know what I'm saying, mix out of what's going on. But each phase of what you guys know that I'm into. First off, video games. Mortal Kombat 1. You know what I'm saying? I am
Okay.
so geeked for this game. You got to think in this year we're getting a Budokai game, Budokai Tenkaichi game. We're getting Street Fighter 6. We're getting Tekken 8, and we're getting Mortal Kombat 1, all in the same year. I'm very happy about it. What I'm more happy about is the inclusion, as rumors, of Jean-Claude Van Damme, Homelander, and more as DLC characters. So, man, I'm really, really geeked about that. I'm excited. I'm happy. Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War Arc Part 2 drops next week, I believe. I'm looking way forward to that. First part was so good. I'm just happy to get back to reviews that I actually enjoy doing. So just the hype around that, I'm very excited, and that we are very close around the corner for the Creed anime. I know it's kind of anime heavy with me lately, but that's because Anime Assembled is getting ready to come back. John Powers just went to ASIN, the Anime Comic-Con's got a bunch of footage we're getting ready to post up. So I'm just geeked. I'm happy about that. As you could tell, got the Tokyo hoodie on. I'm all animated out over here.
I thought I heard the mention of a Creed anime coming a lot sooner than people expected. What is that? How soon are they talking? Do you know, Indy?
They're talking about we could wake up tomorrow and actually see that streaming.
Shut your what?
Yes.
No
that's
trailer to even hype people up.
It's Creed. I think it's I think what's going on with that is I think the issues with Jonathan Majors and him being attached to Creed might not want you to put trailers out for something, for a movie that he was just attached to. So we're gonna see how that goes, because I feel like that could take away from some of the hype for it.
If anything, I do remember when we discussed the article about them expanding the Creed verse, and one of the main things that they were hyped about, or at least brought to the forefront of that, was the anime. And maybe the reason why they did that was because it was a lot further along than even we certainly expected. Maybe that's something that he was working on behind the scenes also during the time of filming for Creed 3 or something like that. I have no idea, but that'd be amazing if it comes out a lot sooner than we expect. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. So we'll definitely keep checking out some Anime Assembled for you guys to see what other anime news might drop. But I'm looking forward to you and John certainly coming back for sure. Any other honorable mentions?
Definitely looking forward to the Mortal Kombat game. I actually didn't even realize we were getting a new Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi game this year.
Okay, just to let you guys know, because I like to make sure you have all the details. There's going to be Creed 3 opens in theaters. Oh no, that's the movie. But they're saying that the anime is supposed to probably hit next month in Japan. So I don't know when we're gonna get it. Wow, but they're talking about next month. The Creed anime will hit in Japan.
Wow.
Hopefully it comes to Crunchyroll.
Tony says fighting games are eaten this year. Marcelino says, I was surprised MK1, since MK12 felt like a good conclusion to the series, so I'm excited to see how Liu Kang runs the world of MK.
Thank you, Marcelino. Thank you. I was just saying that instead of trying to continue, just reboot it. Just start over. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what Liu Kang thinks about this world.
Yeah, I was going to say Mortal Kombat 1, didn't we get that years ago? But yeah, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Any other honorable mentions, guys, on your ends?
Just that I saw Fast X, and I think Jason Momoa, like there were rumors a while ago of him being Lobo, and after seeing Fast X, I think he'd be perfect as Lobo. Yes. I think he like literally stole the whole movie. I kind of went in expecting him to play like an evil Aquaman or something like that, but no, he brought a brand new character to the to this movie, and I definitely hope I definitely can't wait to see more of him in future Fast and Furious movies. I think he may be like the best Fast and Furious villain.
I was just finna say that the only other villain I feel that is a great villain in Fast and the Furious, other than Dom itself, is the character that he's related to. I feel like those are the two best villains in Fast and the Furious franchise history.
Yeah. I don't remember much about the character he's related to. It's been like way too long since I saw Fast 5, but
yeah. So I love the way that if you go down to the we're gonna talk about this. Me and you, we might have to do a review about Fast 10.
You should, yeah.
But to be totally honest with you, if you take all of the looniness, you know what I'm saying, out of the movies, and you look at the bare storyline, the Fast franchise is an incredibly written story. How they weave in characters, how they bring characters back, and how they do all that. It's an incredibly written story. It's just that story doesn't translate well when you're slamming helicopters together with a car.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, people completely forget about it. But yeah, no, I totally get you. I need to jump back on this franchise, man, before it ends. I really should, especially if we have maybe one more movie, although they're teasing the concept of maybe it being a trilogy now. I'm like, what? You're gonna stretch it out even further?
I don't know. With this
but
movie
look, if these movies make $1 billion, man, I can see studios really trying to like get every last drop out of this franchise.
This one isn't starting as quick as the other ones would. I really feel like them pushing the movie back because of COVID and stuff like that really hurt what this movie was going to do. Because if it would have dropped when they were going to drop originally, it would have been $1 billion movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the hype washed away all of the arguments between Dwayne and Vin and like everything that went on in the background. I think that took away from what this movie really was, which is actually a beautiful story about parenthood. You know what I'm saying? About like they say, about family. Like the movie is well written. It's just Expendables times 1,000.
Yeah,
no, I feel you. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you guys to do a review for Fast X, I think, for sure.
I'd definitely be down if you're able to tomorrow.
Let's see here. A couple other honorable mentions I do want to get to. Let's see here. Winnie the Pooh, guys, is back in the news. That Blood and Honey movie that they did. Apparently, there's a sequel that's happening. It says this is from the Hollywood Reporter. It says the first film became a viral sensation and amassed more than $6 million at the box office. That may not sound like a lot to many, but when you consider the fact that the budget for this movie was under $100,000, so you made a movie under $100,000 and you made $6 million at the box office. Yes, they are going to be making a sequel. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and give you guys that update.
I feel like that's not going to work out well for them because what made the first one successful was the hype. And now that the joke has been said and done, I don't really see like too many people lining up just for the same joke again.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Yeah, I don't think it's going to make that type of money again. The strike continues. The WGA writer strike is still on board, still happening. One of the things that we mentioned is that we would keep you up to date as to other projects that are in fact affected by the writer strike as they continue to try and hopefully make a deal that certainly works for the Writers Guild of America. But a couple of shows have now been shut down. The Penguin, the Matt Reeves Batman World series, The Penguin, is the latest project to shut down production because of picketing from the writers' strike. We did talk a little bit about Stranger Things last week being stopped and halted in their production. So The Penguin is the next one to suffer from that. And then we also have, believe it or not, the Mandalorian season 4. The start of production will likely be delayed due to the writer's strike, which does make me scratch my head a little bit because the script is already in for the Mandalorian. But when it comes to movies and television, there can clearly be rewrites on the set, that sort of thing. But according to sources, the series will likely push the start of production for season 4. I don't believe filming was set to begin in September for the Mandalorian, and that certainly seems a far enough time away for maybe the writer strike to not affect it. I'm hoping that the writer strike is like figured out and solved by September, but Disney clearly doesn't believe so. And they've decided to, instead of waiting for September to begin production, they're going to push that back and have it delayed a little bit. Do you guys think we'll get ourselves a deal by September? That's June, July, that's like 3.5 months away.
I feel like we got to, because the last one lasted 100 days, and I don't see this one lasting quite that long. But maybe I'm wrong. I hope not. Basically,
yeah, I hope not either.
It depends on how much they have that they could actually put out, as far like how much was actually done, because from the people that I know that are like at the strike, they're not settling for less this time. So it's that they're willing to actually be, you know what I'm saying, for it to go as long as possible to make sure that they get what they want. I don't want that because I want power, especially after those last 2 episodes leak. I don't want to have to wait 2 years for a new season of Power. It's a lot of stuff on TV that I need, and I don't want to miss it. So, come on, Adam, reach to that age where we old. Like, we need everything now. We can't sit around and wait. Tomorrow's not promised. Like, quit playing with my emotions here, people.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. I'm like, man, I wonder if I'll get to see the next Star Wars movie one day. Like, you're just hoping you can make it to the next event.
Now with the way they closing everything that has Star Wars in it.
Yeah, man.
And all that's going on. I don't know.
So we'll see.
Wait, are you trying to imply that the writer's strike is why the Star Wars hotel got shut down?
I'm just saying they use it as a red herring. They went, oh, writer's strike. Oh, we can't do anything Star Wars. We shut the hotel down.
Shut the hotel down. We need writers to come up with dialogue for our crew members. So
yeah. Just shut it down. We were waiting on an excuse.
I think if anything, that's what it is. They wanted to shut the hotel down for so long. They need an excuse. Writer strike. Okay, finally.
Is it not making money or something like that? Is the hotel just not making money or what?
It's so from what I hear, it was too expensive, and so not enough people could afford to go there. And because of that, they're just not making enough money. It's easier to shut it down than to lower the price.
Yeah, they definitely outpriced people for sure. Let's see. Other honorable mentions. The Hellboy movie, The Crooked Man, has officially wrapped production. That was quick as hell, if you ask me. The creator of Hellboy, Mike Mignola, congratulated the cast and crew while also praising co-writer Chris Golden for staying true to the heart and soul of the source material, which he described as one of his favorite Hellboy stories. The project has not yet been given an official release date, but it will serve as the 4th live-action adaptation for Hellboy. But yes, the Crooked Man Hellboy movie has officially wrapped. The way that they've kind of been describing this is a pretty lower budget film. So it shouldn't surprise me that production wrapped that quickly, but it does surprise me kind of at the same time. But it feels like, if anything, that must mean that production went rather smoothly. So we'll see what the end result is going to be. Are you guys surprised that production happened so quickly? And what's your level of anticipation for a 4th Hellboy movie, where some people may not have an appetite for right now?
I'm very surprised that it wrapped already, but I guess that does make sense because this is a lower budget. It almost sounds like it's a borderline, almost like an independent film, pretty much. But I'm curious to see what this is going to look like on a lower budget, and it's good to hear that the writer is really involved in this version of it. I don't think it's going to do too well financially because I don't think there's really a need for another Hellboy at this point, especially like. I think the last one left too bad of a taste in people's mouth, but we'll see.
But that was the fans' fault.
Was that David Harbour's complaint?
Yeah, right? Yeah. The fans did that. That's why I didn't do that.
I remembered in an interview where he blamed Marvel. He's like, Marvel set too high of a standard for superhero movies.
Yeah, they were hard on how not to get people to watch the stuff that you're in.
Right.
No. It's funny how he says that about Marvel, but then his next big project is a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tim Starks for certainly coming through. What's up, Tim? But we'll see how this movie does. Hopefully they're much smarter about the budget. You look at horror movies these days that tend to be killing at the box office. You make a really low sort of horror budget film, and usually sometimes you can get a really good kickback and good return. This may not be a movie that necessarily needs to make $100 or $200 million, depending on how low of a budget. So maybe they have found the right recipe for a successful Hellboy, but we'll definitely see.
Is it bad that I would rather have a sequel to Cocaine Bear than a Hellboy sequel?
No, it's not bad. Not at all. Quick, just want to go through some quick trailers we had this week. I thought some of the trailers we got were pretty fun. Five Nights at Freddy's went ahead and dropped a teaser. The actor, I think, from Hunger Games is in this movie, as he's the new security guard for Five Nights over here. Or yeah, five, was it Five Freddy? I can't remember the name of the damn restaurant. But what did you guys think of the teaser trailer? It didn't really do anything for me, honestly. I honestly, I'm like, there are definitely some creepy moments, like when the camera's panning and you see the main character, and then just as it pans further, you see like the bear behind him briefly. I'm just wondering if it'll give us more scares in the video game.
I think this is for kids, and to be honest with you, I think this is like 15 years too late. Like I remember, like, maybe what was it, like 2009, working at a GameStop when Five Nights at Freddy's was the hype. Like, are we really running out of ideas that we have to go, what did kids like 10 years ago? Let's make that something.
Well,
like, no.
I think what's happening too, though, is recently I feel like there's going to be a big spike with video game adaptations. Now that we have the kind of superhero fatigue kind of kicking in. And now that, I don't know how it took Hollywood so long to figure it out, but it seems like Hollywood has finally figured out how to make good video game adaptations. I think this is just kind of like the beginning of a big spike with video game movies going forward.
I honestly have something with that. I think it's not the fact that they learn how to make movies. I think it's the fact that the owners of the properties are more involved in the movies being made than just selling rights, you know what I'm saying, for the properties and letting people do what they want to do. So I think that's honestly what's helping it out. You look at the Super Mario movie, like, that was literally just watching everything that we love playing Super Mario on screen, you know what I'm saying, at one time. The same thing with the Sonic movies and different stuff like that. I feel like it's going to get better, but we have to see. Even Mortal Kombat, as many people point that out, like, that Mortal Kombat was way better than the ones that we got before that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I mean, I'm gonna watch it because my daughter's gonna want to go. She's a Five Nights at Freddy's fanatic, so we'll see what happens. But hey, the trailer was good enough to scare my daughter, so that's all that matters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, all right. So it might be onto something then.
Like, I'm kind of like with you guys, like, the trailer didn't do much for me, but I think, like, it's just hearing about the production of this movie that's really getting me hyped up. Plus, I love the actor. I always forget his name, but the dude from the Scream, from the first Scream movie, and the dude that played Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. I think he's just a hilarious dude, so I look forward to seeing him in this movie.
Let's see, another trailer that we wind up getting this week, Extraction 2, the Netflix hit with Chris Hemsworth, dropped a brand new trailer. If I could be fair and honest with you guys, I did not check out the first Extraction movie. I think I watched maybe half of it and then eventually fell asleep, and I never went back to checking it out. But I know those that have checked it out, the first one, might have actually enjoyed it. But I got to tell you, man, after seeing the trailer for this, I kind of want to go back and watch the first one again. High octane, the action is there. They've got some incredible, like, long shot sequences that I'm always a big fan of. Getting an opportunity to see Chris Hemsworth kick some ass is always pretty fun. But I thought the intensity was definitely there. I'm not expecting much of a legit story, but I think if you're a big action fan, just some of the sequences alone from this trailer really impressed me and how they wind up sort of pulling it off. So I'm kind of going to look forward to this. Indy, were you bored with the first one, or does this trailer not do anything for you?
You mean the first one? You mean Captain America and the Winter Soldier 2? And then Captain America and the Winter Soldier 3? Yeah, I'm getting to the point where Joe and Anthony Russo aren't doing anything for me at all.
I think they're writing this movie. I think one of the Russos is writing it. I don't believe they're directing it, though. Maybe I'm wrong though.
I don't know.
They've been producing, like, a lot of, like, spy espionage, like
the Gray Man
TV shows. Yeah, like they haven't necessarily been directing a lot of them, but they've definitely been putting their names on them.
I just feel like these are all the scripts they have for Winter Soldier that didn't go. And they're like, we'll just turn them into different movies.
To me, though, it's like the covers of it, the photos that you kind of brought up, the posters, they kind of look like the DVDs you'd find in a bargain bin with a big actor on it. But then when you actually play it, the actor's like only in the movie for maybe 5 minutes, like
the Marine 5 with the Miz or something.
Tell me, go back to that last poster, not that one, the other one. Tell me that doesn't look like Captain America's shield, like he's stopping something, you know what I'm saying, from hitting him.
There's a great moment in this trailer where his hand is like a fucking fireball and he punches some dude with it. I thought the stunts and the action in here were really freaking cool, honestly.
Yeah,
I gotta check out the trailer now because it's like funny.
Yeah.
You're describing something that sounds awesome. I'm looking at like the posters that look, like bargain bin DVDs.
I mean, look, I haven't watched the first one, so I don't know how the story was or anything like that, or if this is literally up in the ante. But I don't remember the first Extraction trailers being as exciting for me as they have been in the past. So I don't know what happened to Indy. Maybe he'll pop back in here. But if you haven't checked it out, Stuart, I would highly recommend check out the Extraction 2 poster or movie trailer and let me know what you thought.
Definitely.
And then lastly, I don't know if you had the opportunity to check this out. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 dropped the trailer. I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan. I've been loving Tom Cruise in this particular franchise. I don't know if this is like the 7th, 8th film. I've really lost track, to be perfectly honest with you. I think this is the 7th one. Did you have the chance to check out the trailer, Stuart?
I honestly didn't realize there was a brand new trailer, but yeah, the trailers
yeah.
I've seen before for this are getting me super hyped. Love Tom Cruise in these movies, like you said. I love his like commitment to basically like being willing to do all these incredible stunts on his own, and yeah, and like he can somehow do all these crazy stunts while giving a good performance.
Yeah, I will say, I don't know if the director is coming back from the previous movies, but even if he is, I think they've got some incredible shots and sequences in this particular trailer that really stand out to me. Some amazing close-ups. It looks like there's even like a tight alleyway sort of fight sequence in here. The narration at the beginning of this trailer seemed pretty interesting. Like we're really going to get to the nitty-gritty of Ethan Hunt, maybe learning a little bit more about his past. Clearly, the threat or the fear of certainly losing his friends maybe being more overpowering than kind of completing the necessary mission sort of thing, right? So I think this is going to be a really emotional movie for Tom Cruise in regards to getting this mission accomplished. And if anything, the addition of Vanessa Kirby in here, Haley Atwell looks fantastic, and especially Issei Morales, who I was a big fan of him as Deathstroke in the Titan series. So him getting an opportunity to play the main villain in here really fascinates me, and I really want to see just what his overall connection to Ethan is, and how far back in the past maybe their relationship certainly does go. So I thought it was pretty good in regards to giving us an idea of what the plot and the synopsis of this movie is going to be, with just incredible action sequences too and ridiculous stunts. I mean, the director wanted to destroy a train, and Tom Cruise wanted to jump off a cliff, and it looks like they both got what they wanted in this movie. And maybe even a little bit more. So I'm always pumped to kind of see what they do next with Mission Impossible. This trailer just makes it continue to show how vast the scope of this movie is truly going to be. But I'm pumped for it, man. I truly am.
Yeah, I really liked him too as Deathstroke. As much as I like shit on Titans, especially like season 2's writing, I do think that you did have a really good performance from a lot of the actors, him included.
Yeah, he's just an incredibly strong actor, so I really want to see him opposite of somebody like Tom Cruise. But guys, that will do it for our honorable mentions for the day. So thank you very much, guys. Before we get into our main topics, if you want to go ahead and submit your live viewer questions over now, you certainly can. Just go over to our main YouTube page, click on that community tab, and there is in fact a live viewer question post for you guys to go ahead and submit your questions over. And if anything, we'll try and get to as many as we can by the end of the show. And with that out of the way, Stuart, I'm sure Indy will definitely return, but are you ready to go ahead and dive into our main topics this week?
I always am.
Let's do this, baby. We got ourselves 6 main topics that we're going to be getting into for you guys today, kicking off with the CW, as the CW is back in the news, keeping you guys up to date in regards to just what's being canceled, what's no longer happening, what's certainly still on the bubble, and what the future definitely looks like. And so one of the first reports we'll be getting into today will in fact be about the CW, as TVline.com Stuart, is in fact reporting that when it comes to Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights, they're still on the bubble, that a decision is certainly coming relatively soon. Oh, did I lose the page? Is it still there, Stuart? Yeah, I think it's still there. Here, let me go ahead and yeah, I think I did lose the page. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up here. Let me go ahead and pull this up here for you guys as we dive into this week's story. So this is going to come to us from tvline.com. It says CW boss renewal cancellation decisions on Superman and Lois along with Gotham Knights coming pretty soon. Coming pretty soon for us. So it should be here. If anything, Stuart, there's a part of me that feels like maybe we'll get ourselves an announcement by the end of today.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if right when we stop broadcasting, that's when they suddenly release the final confirmation.
That's exactly how it's going to happen. So look, we'll keep our eyes out for any breaking news here on today's episode. But as of right now, the bosses are still certainly saying that a decision is coming soon. It says at a press conference on Thursday to outline the network's new acquisition heavy fall lineup, the president of entertainment offered an update on the status of some of their In Limbo series. So discussing Superman and Lois, Gotham Knights, and All American Homecoming, it says we love all three shows. We'll be making decisions on those sooner rather than later. He does add, look, Superman and Lois creatively is very strong. It does well in broadcast. It does well in digital, but it's expensive and doesn't make money for us. And we don't have the rights to the prior seasons. You need to have a library for people to find a show, and the prior seasons are on HBO Max. So he does kind of clarify maybe some of the decisions as to why they should or shouldn't bring back a series like Superman and Lois. It says thus far, the Next Star-owned CW has renewed All American for season 6 and Walker for season 4. And it says among scripted CW originals, that just leaves Superman and Lois. They also mention Gotham Knights and All American Homecoming still on the fence. And the buzz has been that CW may only save 2 to 3 total scripted shows, leaving maybe 1 slot open. So as of right now, it says it was earlier suggested that the CW hopes to have 1 DC show on its slate for 2023-2024, meaning it may come down to Superman and Lois or the more affordable Gotham Knights. So yeah, they're definitely playing, trying to figure out what's probably the best route to go. India, I want to pick your brain here real quick for these 2 shows. You hear what he's saying in regards to why, they may pick up or may not pick up something like Superman and Lois. If you had to pick 1 show between Gotham Knights and Superman and Lois for them to return to the CW, which one you picking and why?
Is it only 1 show that can come? They only got 1 slot left?
It's like 2 out of 3. They got to pick 2 out of 3. And so they're only really thinking about maybe 1 DC show.
Well, if it's 2 out of 3, 1 has to be All American Homecoming, right?
I would assume so. We'll see, though.
And then Superman and Lois.
You think so, despite what he says?
Why? Because Gotham Knights is trash. They should have never canceled Batwoman. We should have got a season 3 of Batwoman. That should have been a Gotham Knights.
It's the same show. It's the same writers. Am I right? From Batwoman?
Yeah, I believe so. It should have been a Gotham Knights. It should have been It should have been season 4. Is that season 4? But it should have been another season of Batwoman, especially with how strong that storytelling was towards the end of the last season. And you could have kept that on, and that could have been your DC show because it was nowhere near as expensive as what Superman and Lois is. You know what I'm saying? And it was a very well put together show, especially after you got rid of Ruby Rose. So I don't know. The Arrowverse is dead. So it doesn't matter.
What about you, Stuart? If you had to choose one or the other, what would your strategy be here?
Obviously, if I had to choose, it would be Superman and Lois because I'm super biased and I love Superman and Lois. But Yeah, seeing like the kind of points that they brought up, the idea that it's a very expensive show to make and that it makes them no money, whereas Gotham Knights is the cheapest like DC television show that they've produced on the CW, and that means like basically it's less expensive than all the Arrowverse shows and less expensive than Smallville. So kind of finding that, kind of realizing that, I could kind of see why they would want to keep Gotham Knights. And also it does kind of fit the CW brand a little bit more than Superman and Lois, with it, you know, being a show about, you know, teenage superheroes as opposed to like, you know, father and, you know, mother kind of duo in Superman and Lois. So I feel like, knowing the CW bosses and higher ups and how they think, if I had to predict, it would probably be Gotham Knights. If I had to choose, Superman and Lois.
Oh, we can say something, Indy?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like it's not even teens they going after. Most of the people that watch the CW are like older, like older than me. That's their main thoroughfare, who brings their money in. So I don't know. Gotham Knights to me, all right, it's cheaper, but it still feels like Riverdale Gotham to me.
Yeah.
It just more the same. They had other shows to be that were better that didn't come back, whether it was Legacies, you know what I'm saying, and different shows like that did better. I feel like they went away from their whole setup that they used to do. I mean, think about the shows that put them on the map, like Supernatural, you know what I'm saying, different stuff like that. I feel they got away from what people watched on this station, and I really feel like they're making moves that we went from the WB to the CW. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a brand change again pretty soon after they screw this up. That is no longer gonna be the CW, and they'll do it like they do every single time. From when it was the U, you know what I'm saying, the UPN, WB, CW. They'll get one show that's normally African American based, you know what I'm saying, pull in, and then we'll have a whole bunch of other sitcoms just come around it as that washes away. Every single time they rebrand this station.
Yeah, I mean, you might be onto something. I would be interested if they do change the name of the show, maybe the name of the channel. Maybe they'll change it to Nexus right after, you know, after the company itself. But we'll definitely see. Like if for me though, when I think about this article, you know, I think that we talked about this before, Stuart. Also, like I am under the impression if if Superman and Lois is as expensive as it is to go ahead and produce, they're not making any money off of it simply because of the fact that they don't own any of the library of Superman and Lois. While it definitely brings in viewership for them, I just think it's a show that should probably be picked up by HBO Max and turned into a HBO Max original series. You know, I don't know how much is actually going into production itself, but you know, James Gunn has mentioned the idea like, hey, people like the show. Maybe we'll keep it around for another season or two. He didn't seem like, hey, we're going to be outright canceling it. Maybe he was just kind of leaving open-endedness to it, just in case if the show does in fact get canceled. But I do believe there is a world where something like Superman and Lois would get picked up by HBO Max and just run for another season or two there. For me, Gotham Knights, it being as cheap as it is, look, I say why not? You know, you mentioned the idea of like demographics, Indy. You know, look, if you need, you know, the black culture to go ahead and watch your channel, boom, all American. I'll probably push that. Hey, you still want to be able to bring in, you know, those that like superheroes. It might be cheap, but hey, we got Gotham Knights for you. And then if we want to surround that with more, maybe a library that they actually own, or at least have, you know, property to, they can put on like the CW app if they certainly want to. And then something, and just move over something like Superman and Lois. So I know it doesn't really get a lot of views. I personally have not minded it, Indy. I've actually kind of been a fan of what Gotham Knights has certainly given us so far, based off of just the low expectations I had certainly going into it. So maybe that has a lot to certainly do with it. But I do think that if anything, I think that's probably the route that they'll go. But that's just speculation on my part. We'll definitely have to see how this all turns out, though.
No, I definitely get you on that. I mean, I understand it, but I mean, to me, it shows like like the original All-American, you know what I'm saying, that are keeping the CW afloat. These are the shows that people are streaming. They're watching them and then turning around and streaming them after they hit Netflix. So that's what's surprising me, that Homecoming is up in the air to start off with, when that's its direct sister show. But hey, you know what I'm saying? Something about Spencer James. You know, ladies like to see him with his shirt off.
But I would agree also with Tony here and use Indy, the idea that CW doesn't necessarily feel like it no longer has an identity. It very much feels like it's trying to find itself, and it probably won't find itself, at least for like the next 2 seasons of stuff, honestly.
Yeah. So is the CW Xbox?
I guess so.
Yeah, is it Xbox? Like, I mean, it's good stuff on there, but they don't have too many, you know what I'm saying, good originals. They need to go out and they have to buy, you know what I'm saying, their exclusives to bring to their channel, and it's just not working out.
Which is so funny, because I remember when the 360 launched with the PS3, it was like the opposite. Like everyone, you know, wanted the 360 because the PS3 didn't have that much exclusive content. Now it's become reversed.
Yeah. Then that would make Netflix Sony.
Yeah, I guess so. Sony would, or Netflix is the PlayStation.
Yeah, you see how I wrapped that around from my original statement talking about video games? That's podcasting 101.
So like the one thing though, I really wish I had your optimism with Superman and Lois going to HBO Max.
Yeah.
The one reason I don't see that happening is because then you have HBO Max having to go from only partially funding the show to fully funding it. And I don't know if David Zaslav is the kind of person that would want to put in like a lot of money into a show to keep it going for one more season, especially when it's a show about a character who you're about to make like another movie about, you know, in the next couple of years. And you're going to want that version of that character to be like the version of the character. So that's kind of like my big worry of why I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see Warner Brothers finding the value in Superman and Lois. I see them seeing it as devaluing Superman Legacy.
And just to go for Tony's comments, he says Gotham Knights looks like a Hallmark original. I don't think it feels like a Hallmark original when I watch it though, but that's just me. Speaking of,
I'm sorry. This just in, and this is the Jason David Frank official fan page. This Labor Day weekend, and what would have been Jason's 50th birthday, where we get to see his final on-screen performance as he becomes Eric Reed. His portrayal as Eric Reed, the White Dragon, will blow everyone away. So look forward to this Labor Day weekend and the release of Legend of the White Dragon.
Oh wow, that's like next weekend, huh?
I know it's that soon. Let me see if they're playing at a theater near my area.
Yeah, I might have to check it out. That's pretty quick.
Now I wonder what's happening to my what was that when you give money to it? Like, is that gonna be the GoFundMe or whatever?
GoFundMe
is that gonna be in my inbox?
It should be before it releases in theaters, honestly, man. Honestly.
Yeah.
But
are they gonna put your name in the credits?
They should too, yeah. They should. Coming full circle though, in regards to the CW stuff, there are some series that are no longer in development. TV Line also states that the live-action Powerpuff Girls, along with Diggle's Justice U, among pre-Next Star projects, no longer in development. It says a live-action take on the Powerpuff Girls is no longer being redeveloped at the CW. The same goes for the Arrowverse offshoot Justice U, along with a female-led Zorro series that we had mentioned around here once. There's another show called Jack Chang, and other prospective series left over from former CW's regime. They say we've already given those back to the studios, is what they told TV Line. So they're free to develop those and sell them anywhere. So it looks very open-ended in the sense that we're not going to pick it up and create it, but it could certainly move on to other places if they want to try and sell it off. What do you think?
Powerpuff Girls to Disney Plus confirmed.
God, I hope not. If anything, this pisses me off even more that they wasted their time and energy on this. Look, I know a lot of people probably didn't think that something like Painkiller would have been really successful, but I really
so good.
I think it would have been so good. And CW literally just like wasted their time and energy on this shit that just never got off the ground instead of lighting that. And I think we could have at least gotten 2-3 seasons of Painkiller right after Black Lightning. I think it would have been a perfect spinoff for it, honestly.
I hate you,
yeah.
Adam. I hate you.
What?
Because you're good with Gotham Knights. They could have gave us Painkiller and gave us Gotham Knights instead.
What?
And you're okay with Gotham Knights. Like, you're supposed to be like, no, this is trash. They should have gave us Painkiller.
No, I mean, look, I'd take Painkiller over Gotham Knights any day of the week. I totally would love that. That's why I'm pissed that they tried to give us Powerpuff Girls. Yeah, no, I definitely would have taken Painkiller first and foremost. But yeah, Gotham Knights is just living up to the low expectations that I had for it. But yeah, I definitely would have loved to have seen a Painkiller. But he says they actually say sometimes things miss, and this was just a miss for us when they're talking about Powerpuff Girls. He says tonally it might have felt a little too campy. It didn't feel as rooted in reality as it might have. But again, you learn things when you test things out. And in this case, we felt like let's take a step back and go back to the drawing board. He also states in Justice U, David Ramsey would have reprised his role as Arrow's John Diggle, who, after spending years fighting alongside masked heroes, embarks on a new mission to recruit 5 young metahumans to live undercover as freshmen at a prestigious university. He says last October, Ramsey did state we're on the second draft of the script and we just closed a deal on a writer. It's still in development and we're moving forward. But that was back in October. But if there is any moving forward, it ain't going to be on the CW. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think about this. Tony Robbins says the Powerpuff Girls look like porn.
That's not fair. I've seen pornos with better costumes.
That would have been the highest grossing show on the CW if that was the
case. So let me know what you guys think. What about you, Stuart? How are you feeling about the idea of some of these shows no longer being greenlit?
I'm surprised it took them this long to finally end the production of Powerpuff Girls. It sounded like for the longest time it was just not going anywhere. So it's like, yeah, I'm glad that they finally released a statement saying that it's officially not happening. With Justice U, I was never hyped for it, but I was always kind of curious about it. I do think it did have potential. It was just not something that I was super hyped about. So finding out that it's not going forward, I'm not necessarily too bummed about it. It's just, yeah, I'm also not surprised either. It would have been nice to see though.
Yeah, I think Chloe Bennett saw the writing on the wall a long time ago, and she just got her ass out of there for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't even think it was that. I think Marvel went, hey, we're gonna use you. And she went, well, I'm not gonna do this then. I think she was hyped for it. I think it's something that she had love for, especially with that character with her playing Blossom. It's something that she grew up, you know what I'm saying, watching, and she was into it. It's just that, man, that character of Quake is so iconic. What she did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., with all these C-level characters, you know what I'm saying, that came in for that show to run as long as it was, and for her to be a staple who wasn't even supposed to be the lead in that show, and she turned into the lead in that show. For fans to clamor for her to come back to the MCU, you know what I'm saying, nobody else can play this character other than her type stuff. I believe she made the right choice. But it's something where I feel that if she had a shot for the Powerpuff Girls to be something that she envisioned it was going to be, that she would have actually did it. I think she saw what they were trying to make, and it was just going to be Riverdale Powerpuff.
Because I remember when the show was announced and it was by Greg Berlanti, my thought was, okay, if you're going to pitch a show like a live action Powerpuff Girls, you don't do that unless you have something really awesome thought up, of how you do that. Because how the hell do you pitch that? How the hell does the network actually consider saying yes to that unless you got something really amazing in the works? And then the script got leaked and I was like, oh, no, I take that back. Because it was just one of the worst fucking things, and I'm really glad it never got picked up.
Yeah, I definitely missed the script for sure. I'm kind of wish I had the opportunity to check it out. I do also want to confirm that it's not necessarily confirmed that Chloe Bennett will be showing up in Secret Invasion.
Bruh,
That is definitely just our speculation. But
bruh.
Indy, we've been saying it we have been preaching around here for the longest time though about that idea that like if there's any time for Chloe Bennett to join up with the MCU, the timing of her departure just seemed fishy. Also, I am in agreement with you, Indy. I definitely do think it's certainly going to happen. I definitely do think she is certainly going to be in that series. But there is a part of me too that I think she probably saw the writing on the wall with this. Another great opportunity certainly popped up for her. Why wouldn't you certainly leave in order to go ahead and finally do what a ton of fans have been asking for? So I personally agree with you, Indy. I do think that she certainly will be in Secret Invasion. I just want to say it's not confirmed. Nobody has mentioned it.
Look, but Blossom popped up and she said, "You're gonna read my comment." Personally, I'm glad they didn't do the live action. Just doesn't have the same charm as Powerpuff Girls from my childhood.
Yeah, probably.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I feel the same way as about the animated reboot that they did. It doesn't have the same charm as the original, you know what I'm saying, cartoon did. It actually turned me off. I was trying to get my daughter into Powerpuff Girls. I'm watching this like, nah, this
not
ain't it.
working for you.
Not working for me at all. So I'm kind of glad they stayed away from it. I don't think it's something that I wanted the CW to do. If it was something, to be totally honest with you, it was something that was announced like by HBO Max or even Netflix live action, it'd probably be something that I'd be more excited for.
I get you. Yeah, they definitely felt like a sense of worry when it comes to the idea of like, oh, the CW is gonna tackle this. Okay, we'll see what you got for us. And they got nothing. They had nothing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. The entire series would have been just like this last season of The Flash. Like, let's get it over with.
Speaking of The Flash, we will use that as our next go-to line.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, perfect segue for our next topic as Eric Wallace is in fact back in the news. We've got the final it was a final episode set to go ahead and drop this week. Indy, is that correct? Is that this week?
Final episode is this week. Episode 3 was last week, and I'm waiting on all 4 parts to review them together, so I don't have to do 4 individual trashes. I could just do one long one.
I'll say this, okay. The last 2 episodes have been okay, but I actually think the first episode that starts like this series finale,
it was really good.
Really good, yeah.
So we've got the Flash's final run this Wednesday, May 24th. This is the last episode, huh? Like it's ending. So wrap your head around that, ladies and gentlemen. Entertainment Weekly has been doing a great job in regards to promoting Grant Gustin and this final hurrah, if you will. And it's right around the corner. So look, I have not necessarily been keeping up with this this season. I started off strong and then I fell off quickly. And then I just haven't come back. But the 4-parter is something I might definitely have to go ahead and get caught up to before this Wednesday. But Eric Wallace is back in the news because he's kind of feeling some type of way like we are about the end of a generation, if you will. The end of the Arrowverse is certainly here, and I found it pretty interesting. Every episode before the Oliver episode has been trash, according to Tony. But Eric Wallace says, "Look, man, I hope the Arrowverse does not end." So let's go ahead and dive into some of the words that what he's talking about here in regards to leading up to the finale for The Flash. This comes to us from Entertainment Weekly. The showrunner is hopeful that the Arrowverse is not over. And they had this great sort of like video. I don't know if you guys have seen it, Entertainment Weekly cover, where he's like packing up, like he's leaving his job and shit. Like he's got a whole putting all his stuff away, things that he wants to remember, things that he doesn't want to remember. Gone in the Flash, ladies and gentlemen. So it's unfortunately is happening. It says but showrunner Eric Wallace tells EW that he didn't write an ending for the Arrowverse in the episode in hopes that another show can keep it alive in the future.
Stargirl.
He goes on to say, I still am hopeful that Arrowverse is not over. Wallace tells EW in the latest cover story. He says, I've approached it as the Flash is over, and I want to make the best Flash series finale as possible. On the other side, of course, there's no Batwoman, there's no Legends, there's no Black Lightning, there's no Arrow or Supergirl. It is very strange. All of the shows that were on Earth Prime, they're all going away. So what does that mean? I don't know. And he says, after Arrow's successful debut in 2012, the Arrowverse officially began. So they talk a little bit about that. It says, I'm going to have lunch with Superman and Lois showrunner Todd in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to tell him, if you get a 4th season, you've got to sneak some Arrowverse stuff in there. You are now carrying the torch, is what he tells them. He says, but he doesn't know if he'll get that chance, as his series has not yet been renewed, talking about Superman and Lois. And it says, and the CW slate of original shows continues to get slashed by Nexstar. Eric Wallace says, I will say this. It sure is a lot easier now that the other shows aren't on the air. People's schedules are a lot easier to work around. So maybe, he tells EW. I think this is Todd talking from Superman and Lois. He says, I would love to bring Grant on, and I think it would be a lot of fun to have Candace Patton's Iris with Lois Lane. So we'll see. So that's what he's saying there. And then Eric Wallace concludes with, I've wrapped up a lot of things in the series finale, and it ends on a very hopeful note that shows you how the future of the Arrowverse could continue in some way, shape, or form. It hopefully gives people closure, but also some hope for the future, because otherwise it's very sad to think that there's no more crossovers, that there won't be any Arrowverse after May 24th, ladies and gentlemen. So, the Arrowverse, guys, possibly coming to a close here. Sad day, man. Are you guys in tears yet? Have you been in tears? Are you getting to the point of crying? How are you guys feeling about all this?
I'm saving my tears for the last episode of The Flash, for when it actually does come to an end.
How are you feeling about what Eric Wallace has to say here, though? The idea that while he's definitely writing the intention of wrapping up The Flash, he still very much wants to keep sort of the Arrowverse kind of open-ended. The idea that there's a possibility of a future here. I love his little tease of, that's interesting, that a lot of the Earth Prime shows are kind of going away. I wonder what that means. Like, are you teasing another fucking crisis? Like, what are you teasing here, Eric Wallace? What do you think, Stuart? Do you think there's a possibility that the Arrowverse in some way, shape, or form lives on, whether that be CW or someplace else? What are your thoughts, man?
I think if it's going to live on, it won't be for a little bit. I think we're going to be taking a big break from the Arrowverse for a while, and it won't be until maybe 10 years from now when the DC universe decides to start exploring the multiverse, when we might get some characters from the Arrowverse returning, kind of like what we had in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Besides that, the only other way I kind of see the Arrowverse returning going forward is maybe if we get some comic book tie-ins, which I do think would be kind of a cool way to continue that universe, if they want to make like a line of comic books called Earth Prime or something like that.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. I kind of dig that concept. Comic book wise, they've done that already in regards to some one-shot sort of tie-ins. So that would be pretty neat. Marceline says, "Fight me, Indy. Iris is far more worse of a character. Is far from the worst character. Cecile, Chill, Blaine, Godspeed, Allegra, Chester, and Keon." I'm saying maybe he puts a lot of those before Iris. Before we dive into that, though, Indy, what are your thoughts in regards to what Eric Wallace has to say here? That he's wrapping up the Flash stuff, maybe keeping the Arrowverse open ended. Do you think he should have closed off the Arrowverse himself? And do you see a future for the Arrowverse after this at all?
It all depends on what the Flash movie does. To be totally honest with you, because that is what is supposed to set up the multiverse for the DCEU. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to that, I don't know. When it comes to the Arrowverse, it's the characters, it's the actors who brought these characters to life. So I feel like if you don't have one of these actors returning, the Arrowverse is dead. One of the things I was hoping that Superman and Lois would be picked up, because I felt like we never ended up with a proper crossover that we supposed to get, you know what I'm saying, in that show, because they were just building their world. They're fleshing out what they're trying to do and how everything works where they're at. So it's an interesting thing. It just think about it. We've been sitting here almost 10 years, right? Doing this. One of the reasons why I came on to, you know what I'm saying, the OGA plus was because of, you know what I'm saying, the Arrowverse. So this has been, you know what I'm saying, my lifeblood when it comes to this podcast here. And seeing it end almost feels like, you know, I'm on the table, you know, and they just waiting to unplug me like I'm brain dead. And you know, and I'm upset about it, but I'm more upset with, I feel, the disrespect that's being done, you know what I'm saying, to one of the godfathers of the Arrowverse, which is the Flash. I really feel like they did Arrow okay, you know what I'm saying, but I think that was the respect that they had for the OG. I really feel like they have been disrespecting the work that Grant and others have done on this show by giving them subpar material, you know what I'm saying, to present to us, and not truly understanding the value of the character that he was playing.
No, I definitely feel you there. Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to how Eric Wallace wraps this all up. The fact that season 9 has been relatively disappointing for a lot of people is a little bit of a bummer. So I am hoping that he wraps this up extremely well. You know, for me, I personally hope that there is a chance that the Arrowverse continues. I would agree with you, Indy, that it does sort of feel like an end of an era. We have devoted a lot of time to this channel to highlighting a lot of the DC sort of television aspects of nerd pop culture out there on this channel for quite some time. So you're right, it does feel very much like a end of an era, not just for DC television, but also for the channel. Now, clearly, we're going to continue to still stick around, in whatever the case may be. But you know, there is a part of me that hopes that the Arrowverse does continue in some way. You know, Stuart, you bring up the idea of maybe waiting a couple of years before relaunching. You know, indie states, you know, let's see how the Flash movie certainly does first. I think there's a lot of possibilities of Arrowverse still continuing on. You know, you mentioned the idea of like, hey, we may not necessarily have like the grandfathers around, right? Like Stephen Amell might be gone, Grant Gustin might be gone, Melissa Benoist might be gone. But you know who's not quite gone yet, guys, that I would love to see? Diggle. Diggle is not gone just yet. And I feel like, look, if there's any sort of OG that's been around since like day one, that you can maybe relaunch an Arrowverse on, David Ramsey kind of lines up pretty well with that for me. He would have a connection piece to the past Arrow. Kind of almost reminds me of like Katie Lotz, as like if there was anybody to carry on like the Arrowverse in any way, maybe she would be another great example.
Hashtag bring back legends.
Hashtag bring back legends. If anything, I would say hashtag Justice U. Still give me Justice U. I think the possibility of it, CW not picking it up, but that they've clearly worked on the script a couple times. Last time we got that update was October. If you want to launch something for the Arrowverse, I think the idea of having Diggle, maybe in that sense of being that mentorship role, bringing in brand new meta heroes, maybe some from the DC comics, maybe brand new ones, I think would be a really great sort of launching point for a new sort of Arrowverse, because you would have that legacy character that was connected to so much that came before and launching us into sort of something new as well. So you know, again, how long something like that would definitely take to happen, I don't know. But, you know, it's one of those things too, guys, that's like, and we've talked about this when it comes to Marvel, right? That Marvel canceled and dropped a lot of their shows that they had in production on like Hulu, you know, Disney, you know, Disney Family or Freeform or whatever those channels certainly were. And I personally do feel like there's just an emptiness out there in regards to like new content that could still be created on a lower budget, separate from what you've created in the MCU, and then still do your MCU stuff if you certainly want to. That's how I feel about the Arrowverse, in the sense that it gives you the opportunity to bring characters to life on a lower budget, or if you want them to be Max originals, you can add a little bit more budget if you want to. But I do think that we can have a place on HBO Max that continues to harbor Arrowverse, continues to build upon it if they want to, and still have it separate if they need to from the DCU or any of these other spin-offs that they're kind of doing from some of their big DCU films. So, I'm going to say, yeah, I do think maybe eventually within the next 2 to 5 years, maybe in some form or another, I personally believe that Arrowverse will continue on. It may look a little bit different, but I do think that there's a place where we can still have those lower budget television series and still make great stories out of them personally. So I hope it sticks around. I really do hope so.
Hey, Mr. Wallace, I got Justice U for you right here. I got at least the first 4 seasons for you right here. Each season is Diggle bringing in another instructor to help the kids get over the hump that they have to get over. Like season 1, you bring in Katie Lotz, you bring in a Sarah character to help them do hand to hand. Maybe season 2, you bring in, Black Lightning. We're bringing in Black Lightning. Maybe he brings a kid, Static Shock in to be brought there to, go with Diggle. You have like 4 seasons of just bringing in other characters to help you teach and train these people. And then the 5th season, you could just have this whole team up thing and then just kill it. I mean, this stuff is not too hard to write. Mm-hmm. And if y'all don't stop playing, I'm going to write it and then Stewart's going to shoot it. And then we're going to make all of y'all look dumb.
Gonna do our own Justice U.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of plays itself out almost like Titans Academy, the comic book, almost in the sense that like you can bring back some of these legacy characters to help train the younger generation and just build sort of off of that. It literally writes itself, man. And I feel like Justice U, if you needed it to be a launching point for a new Arrowverse, could still be very much separate from what came before and give us something new here. Legend should only return if it abandons the sitcom nature and goes back to what it used to be for seasons 1 and 3.
I disagree. I feel like what made it different from the rest of the Arrowverse and made it stand out was the fact that it went to they understood what it was and went to like the sitcom nature. I mean, those are some of the highlights from the entire run that the show had is some of that stuff. That they were doing that made it interesting because you were watching all these superhero shows and then Legends was the thing that was different that let all the tension go and just sit and enjoy something.
I get you. I do want to bring attention also. I know you brought this up already, but I just want to shout out Blossom. Thank you again, Blossom, for the support.
Yeah, it's like really funny because like while I personally, loved Legends, season 1 and 2, what they were trying to go for with the superhero aspect, I also am aware that, the reason it got popular was because they ended up dropping that aspect of the show and turning it into like more of a sitcom.
Legends mirror Supernatural because Supernatural for the first couple of seasons was uber serious. And then when they went to the sitcom-y, we're going to make fun of ourselves thing is when it turned into something iconic and why it has the cult following it does now.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. But guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you think? Look, Eric Wallace hasn't written the end to the Arrowverse, very much open-ended. Do you think that there's a world that we live in where the Arrowverse can continue in some capacity? And if it were to continue, what would be a good launching point for you? How would you certainly continue it and where? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. What you got, Stuart, before we go?
I would continue it with the kind of cliffhanger, not really cliffhanger, but like the open ending they had for Stargirl, which is Jay Garrett coming in to the shade and seeing and being like, we got a multiverse crisis. We have a multiverse thing going on. We need your help, kind of thing. So
perfect opportunity. I mean, maybe
Stargirl, the Flash.
Maybe that opens the door to what Eric Wallace says. I wonder what's going on with these Earth Prime shows of not being around anymore. Is he dropping Easter eggs right now? Is he teasing us?
Think about this. Think about this now. What do we just have on Netflix? Right? Think about what was the big thing we just had on Netflix? Once a Ranger, right? All that stuff combined up. You can give us a Arrowverse thing, which is like maybe an hour and a half event, and it just drops on HBO Max.
That would be awesome. Just give us a movie pretty much. We don't even need like a full-on series. Just give us like a really cool like hour and a half, 2 hour special.
Man, we giving them way too much information, y'all. We we giving them way too many ideas right now. If this stuff drops, you'll know where they're listening to us. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts about the Arrowverse in the comment section box below. And with that, guys, we will move on from the DC talk to get into our Marvel bag because listen, big changes are continuing to come from the MCU. The phase 4 didn't necessarily go as well as the MCU certainly planned. They're definitely hoping that when it comes to phase 5, they certainly get their things in order. And one of the things that they mentioned over the past several months is the idea that maybe Disney and the MCU might be slowing down in regards to how they're dropping so much content year to year at this point. Maybe they're going to be taking a step back in order to reorganize, rethink, and redeliver, if you will. And so this past week, we wind up getting some new information on premiere dates that have, in fact, been set by Marvel for some of their upcoming series for Loki and Echo. And I found this stuff pretty interesting, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into this, gang, in regards to the release dates here. I was personally expecting some of these to be pushed back to, say, 2024. But lo and behold, guys, their premiere dates are, in fact, set here for 2023. So let's go ahead and read this article here to see what we're getting ourselves into. This is from Variety.com. They have set the dates for the Hawkeye spinoff series Echo, along with the Tom Hiddleston second season of Loki. Loki season 2 will be dropping and debuting October 6th of this year. So October 6th, Loki season 2 will be in it. You'll have the returning Tom Hiddleston. Who else is in this movie? Was it one of the Wilson? Owen Wilson is in here. Good old Jonathan Majors, probably one of his
possibly his last
possibly his last outing. Will be in here. So Loki season 2 dropping October 6th. And when it comes to the Echo series, it will in fact be releasing November 29th. So we're actually getting both of these by the end of the year. A very interesting decision by Marvel, to certainly say the least. It says Feige touted Loki will be the studio's first ever second season, while the mogul also played up the return of certain co-stars. He did mention that Jonathan Majors is also expected to appear in season 2, reprising his performance as one of the many variants of Kang as well. So he's definitely going to be in here also.
Can you just replace Jonathan Majors with Will Smith?
With Will Smith?
Yeah.
Is that who you want to play Kang? Is that who you would cast?
Nah, I just want the if I had to choose somebody that I don't know why I choose Will Smith. I just feel like he needs to redeem himself. And the man can actually act. I think people forget how well he acts, and I think as him playing Kang, being able to play multiple variants of himself, I think that's something that he would do well. Because we all talk about Denzel, we all go to these actors who have won awards and been acclaimed and stuff like that. But I think Will deserves that shot, and I really feel like he could do it.
They just expecting, like, next time he runs into Ant-Man, Ant-Man being like, "Wait, you don't look like Jonathan Majors anymore." And then Will Smith slapping him, being like, "Take his name out your mouth."
It wouldn't even be that. I can guarantee you. I'm waiting on him to have an interaction with Deadpool, and then it'd be like a Bad Boys reference, or what I'm saying, something like that. Or like he's walking up, and then like the Bad Boys theme starts playing. And then he just turns around and just looks and was like, I'm waiting for Deadpool to actually fix everything. I feel like Deadpool is going to fix everything.
When I hear about the recasting of Kang, some people after seeing Guardians 3 suggested the guy that played High Evolutionary come back and play Kang. I don't know how they would certainly pull that off, but I've been hearing a lot of people kind of pushing that idea. But yes, mark your calendars, guys. October 6th, Loki season 2. An Echo series dropping November 29th for you guys. But guys, there is a little bit of, I don't want to say an issue, but definitely something surprising happening here with the Echo series itself. According to Deadline.com, they say Marvel is set to drop all episodes of the Hawkeye spinoff Echo at once on Disney Plus in streaming strategy shift. Now, we have become so accustomed to the idea of there being sort of an episode a week. They definitely have been doing that sort of water cooler method, right? Drop an episode a week, allow people the opportunity to sit back, talk about it, get hyped for next week's episode sort of all week long. But it seems as though when it comes to Echo, they're changing things up a little bit. They are going to be giving us a binging method here for Echo. According to Deadline, it says Marvel is launching a new binging strategy. Feige just revealed that the Hawkeye spinoff Echo will drop all at once on the November 29th. This is a new move for the company, which has previously aired episodes week to week. They go on to say, in Hawkeye, fans were first introduced to Maya Lopez, a character played by Alaqua Cox. She will return to get her revenge in Echo, a limited drama from an incredible team of indigenous writers, directors, and cast members. I'm trying to say, and that's pretty much all that it certainly reveals. Doesn't give us any details as to why the strategic shift, but guys, that's what we're here for. So, Stuart, any idea as to why you think they're going this route with Echo and not the other series that we've had before?
A couple theories. Theory number one, which I think is probably the most likely out of all of them, I think this might be written differently than the other Marvel TV shows, because the other Marvel TV shows are written to have like a very specific type of cliffhanger at the end, the type that makes you really pumped, really excited to see the next episode right away. Whereas like Netflix, streaming shows always had the strategy of having an ending to their episodes, but those endings feeling feeling less like an ending and feeling more like someone just paused your story in the middle, they just paused in the middle of your movie. And of course, you're going to want to keep going because you're like, well, I want to see what happens next now. So you're going to want to binge it. And I think that might be what they're doing with Echo. I think they might be writing it kind of like more like a streaming show. So it's like a show that feels like it's more meant to be binged. That's my main theory on why they're doing it this way. Another thing is that, maybe they're just trying to see, trying to try something new for the sake of trying something new. And Echo being a very not super well-known character, but at least being a character set up in the MCU, I guess they just see like her as like the perfect opportunity to test this new idea out with.
And to be fair, it is set to be a limited series also. So, if anything, I'm not expecting 9 or 10 episodes, maybe like 6 episodes. So maybe the idea of a binging method is key. What's up, Syndrome? Certainly good to see you in here. He says binging it episodically sucks. I think if anything, it just really depends on how this series is written. To be fair, when I saw this announcement that they made, I honestly began to worry. Just because it's one of those things. Yeah, I honestly began to worry. I'm like, oh my God, like, is this equivalent to like them not lifting sort of like an embargo on movie reviews to like the last day, like the sense of we don't want anybody talking about this movie because it's so bad or it's so terrible. Like maybe it just did not come out the way that they wanted to. And so the idea of like a weekly release might just be brutal for the MCU. And they're like, yeah, we just really want to avoid that and just drop the episodes certainly all at once. So that's where my mindset was like, man, this does not give me confidence in the sense that Marvel really trusts that this project could be successful, especially when you just look literally a month earlier, you've got Loki season 2 set to drop on a weekly basis. But somebody did state something to me in one of my tweets that I pointed out. It might have been either Will from Seen a Nerd or Sarah, the potential, and I think maybe something along the line similar to what you're stating, Stuart, that maybe it just really has to do with the pacing of the series itself. That maybe because of the fact that it is such a short series, maybe by the time you get to the end of the first episode, the pacing of it all just really just makes you want to lead right into sort of that second that second episode. And when that got brought to my attention, I'm like, Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Like I could definitely see that. So I don't want to be overly negative, but I'm just being truthful about when they announced that. That's really where my first mindset went with like, damn, like I didn't have high expectations for the Echo series, so maybe that has something to do with why my mindset already went there. Like, let's just get this sort of out of the way. And also it probably makes me feel like that too because of the fact that Marvel's idea of let's take a step back. Maybe we'll push some of these series into 2024. And the fact that they're not doing that makes me think they're like, let's just get this shit out of the way as quickly as we possibly can. But the idea of what you mentioned, Stuart, and what they mentioned to me on Twitter about the idea of maybe it's just pacing wise for this does kind of get me a little bit more excited in the sense that maybe it does have some, I don't want to say high octane action, but maybe it's just that roller coaster ride or just those really great movements that just lead you into the next episode where you got to come back for the next one. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more positive about this particular Echo series. But how do you feel about this, Indy? Do you think it has something to do with just a new streaming strategy? Do you think it's a terrible series with it being limited? What do you think they went with this decision for?
I don't think it's terrible. I honestly think limited is the way to go, because I don't feel like this is a character that they're going to have standing alone. I feel like she's a character that's going to fold over into other series, whether it's Daredevil or if the Kate Bishop series ever happens, because it looks like she might be movie going. You know what I'm saying? Now after the success of Hawkeye, I feel like she's going to fold over into something else. I really feel like this isn't an Echo show. I feel like this is using Echo's visions and what she wants to do in order to set up the world that Kingpin has created, the world that he's running, you know what I'm saying, right now, so we can get familiar with everything that's going on before we have Daredevil and all these other shows, you know what I'm saying, hit. And to be honest with you, she's the perfect character to do it because of the level she's at and what she's trying to accomplish. It's going to be, you're going to see exactly how dangerous, you know what I'm saying, Kingpin can be going up against somebody like Echo. Another reason why I think is as I look at what how the releases are supposed to be falling as far as what was updated on the 19th, they still have Deadpool slated for the 8th, and then the next thing they have after it is Ironheart. It might be something where this needs to be binged all at once because of something that's happening in the MCU, to where if they had it episodic, it could give some, you know what I'm saying? It could, a movie come out or another show come out, it can give something away. So maybe like you need to binge this before you go see the next movie, or before we announce the next thing, we need to have to make sure that Echo is done, because remember, these shows have been pushed back, and what it goes. Maybe this needs to be binged before they announce what they're doing next, because they don't want to give it away.
Yeah, you might be onto something. I mean, I definitely agree with your mindset in the sense that if anything, maybe they definitely need this series in order to help launch whatever they have for the world of Kingpin and Daredevil. And definitely one of those grounded sort of characters also. So I do think it would be a really good launching point, especially considering her connection to all those characters. So I definitely agree with you there, Indy. There were a couple comments. Shout out real quick to Kiori Universe. Appreciate you certainly coming through. I hope I pronounced that right. And then Keisha, what's up, Keisha? She says, Marvel making me mad that they're taking too long for everything to me. That's just so funny, because I feel like a lot of people are complaining like there's too much Marvel right now, like you're watering things down. But trust me, there's definitely
it's not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. Bring it to me. So yeah. And we'll answer that next question for you, Kiori, right after we finish this topic here. But so yeah, look, I was not that impressed with the Echo character from the her moment in Hawkeye, but I just wasn't. She just really didn't do too much for me, honestly. But I am fascinated to kind of see what they do with her in her own series. Like, it did just seem weird to me that we were getting an entire series for her, or at least a limited series. But I think it could be a really good sort of launching off point. And I am hoping that you guys are right in regards to this being a smart strategy move for just basing the way that the filming of this series certainly took place, how it's certainly supposed to be watched. Because not everything has to be episodically. You can definitely pick and choose. And if anything, Marvel has always been the type to experiment a little bit. The idea of, doing different genres and trying to make things exciting. So maybe that's the same thing when it comes to Echo, doing something a little bit different here that might fit the character, fit the pacing of their storytelling. And maybe it's going to be successful, but we all have to wait and see. It'll be here November 29th, though. But yeah, guys, if you guys have any other thoughts, let me know.
The other comparison I can kind of make is with Andor, because with that show, they didn't release the entire series at once, but they did release the first 3 episodes. And I think kind of in retrospect, that was a very smart move, because the first 2 episodes, while they're not bad, I don't think they really hooked me, because they didn't really tell us what exactly we can expect from the show. And it really wasn't until the 3rd episode where I felt like I was really hooked onto the show. So yeah, I feel
No, I think that's a good comparison too, because a lot of those episodes, at least the first 3 episodes, the standalone of watching that week to week, probably would have been a very slower burn than it was for some people, So you might be onto something. It could be the idea that's like, it's just really the pacing about all this. I think we might be onto something here. And then with that out of the way, we will move on to our next topic. But Kiori did ask a question. Expectations on the last Flash episode 9/13. I'm assuming that's what he means.
To be solely unimpressed.
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like the writers can do a good job when they care, because we saw how good episodes 9 and 10 were. And I would hope to God they care when it comes to the fucking series finale. So I feel like they're going to end strong with this last episode.
Look, this is good. It took 1 hour and 32 minutes before Stewart dropped the F-bomb. But no, I don't really think I have no one to like, kind of like how you felt going into Gotham Knights is how I feel like going into this last episode right now. Because beyond what Marcelina may think, if they make this last episode where we don't see Barry and we're worrying about Iris having a friggin' baby that we know is already going to be born, you know what I'm saying? Something we all know is going to happen, and we're dealing with how Iris feels about something. This isn't the Flash. They should have just called it Iris West. That's what they call it, because this is what it's been the past 3 seasons. It's all Iris.
Yeah, I haven't been on this train this season, so I probably don't have too much to say. But I do find it interesting that Eric Wallace can knock episodes out of the park when he absolutely has to. So it does give that sense of like just coasting, just to get to the next big event, and then delivering. So we'll see, man. We'll definitely see how it turns out. But if anything, definitely check out Indy's review for the Flash, as he's going to be doing all four parts together to go ahead and say farewell. What were you going to say, Stuart, before we move on?
I was just going to say the funniest thing I kind of heard, and I don't know if this is true or not because I couldn't find where the source came from, but supposedly the writers of the show were saying that they were just getting bored with writing the Flash, like the character the Flash, and that's why they focus a lot more on the side characters. But my question is, why would you take up a job working on the Flash if you're tired of working on the Flash?
Yeah, man, I don't get it sometimes, bro. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, let's move on to our next topic, guys, as we're going to shift over to Sony Pictures, as Venom 3 is back in the news. Look, you guys already know how I feel about Venom. It's kind of funny. After watching the second Venom movie, I somehow came to appreciate Venom 1 a little bit better. I still don't think it's a great film, but to each their own. I'm definitely not here to go ahead and crap on your guys' yum if you were big fans of the Venom franchise so far. They've just been mediocre to me. They haven't really done anything for me personally, but we're still getting ourselves a third film. They continue to do pretty well at the box office financially, so that just gives Sony the green light to launch more Venom. And this week we wind up getting ourselves some casting news for the upcoming third installment, which, look, even though I may not personally be looking forward to or excited for Venom 3, I'm not going to lie here. The idea of this casting definitely perked up my ears. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys, as this article comes to us from Deadline.com, as a very incredibly strong actor in Chiwetel Ejiofor joins Tom Hardy in the next Venom 3 installment. So, look, if you're talking about trying to get yourself a heavy hitter in regards to performance, acting wise, this is definitely the man for the job. So, let's go ahead and dive into this. As Deadline says, exclusive after matching wits with Doctor Strange, Chiwetel Ejiofor has found a new superhero to face off against in sources, as sources tell Deadline that he has closed the deal to co-star opposite Tom Hardy in Sony and Marvel's Venom 3. Hardy is set to return as the main character, with the franchise's longtime writer, Kelly Marshall, taking over the directing reins as well. Juno Temple also is on board. So the longtime writer for this franchise is not only doing writing duties, but also taking over the directing chair as well. Marshall and Hardy will also produce, with Marshall writing the screenplay from a story she and Hardy wrote. So Tom Hardy definitely has a part in this. Plot details are unknown, other than Hardy is returning as the lethal protector Venom, following the first two films grossing a combined $1.3 billion. Who Ejiofor will be playing is being kept under wraps. So no identity yet as to who this character is that Ejiofor will in fact be playing. But let me go to you first, Indy. You hear this news. How excited are you, or not excited are you for him returning? And any idea as to who he might be playing?
I'm hoping he's playing the same character that he was playing before in Doctor Strange. That's what I'm hoping.
I'm glad that's where you were leaning, brother. Go ahead.
I'm hoping it's the connection we get to hopefully soon bringing Tom Holland's Spider-Man into the Venomverse and actually combining that what's going on. That's what I'm hoping for, because I don't want to see him play a different character in the Marvel, you know what I'm saying, universe, especially what went on with everything in Doctor Strange 2 and all that. I want to see more of that character. I feel like he should have been around more. He should have did more. It's just so much more for that character to do. And if for him to try to stop Venom, tell me, there's no stopping Venom really when you come head to head with like brute force. But watching Venom have to deal with fighting against magic would be hilarious. Hilarity ensues. So I'd be looking forward to see that.
What do you think here, Stuart? Do you think Indy's onto something? Do you think it'll be, what is his name? Mordo from Doctor Strange making an appearance here in the Sony universe?
I doubt it, only because if it was him, I feel like there would be so much hype going into this. I feel like they would probably wait to announce that he was in the next Venom movie until they were allowed to announce who he was playing, if that was the case. So unfortunately, I don't think that'll happen, but I would love to be wrong about that.
How do you feel about it, though? Do you think he's a good pickup for them?
Oh yeah. Well, it depends. Okay, so I think he's an amazing actor when he's in front of the camera, but he, as we kind of saw in Lion King, he's not really my favorite voice actor. So if he's playing a character who's like butting heads with Venom, but he's like, not a CG character, he's like, playing himself as he is. Yeah, I think he's going to do a great job. I just hope he's not playing kind of like another character that gets taken over by a symbiote or something like that. Basically, I hope he's not a character that gets like, that voice acts. That's I hope he's not a CG character, basically.
I get what you mean. Totally. Yeah, I think he's a good pickup, man. Acting wise, I don't want to say Woody Harrelson, Venom 2, I kind of really dug his performance. I haven't really cared for Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, honestly. It just feels weird to me. There are definitely moments I appreciate the chemistry and the relationship between him and Venom, but like Venom 2 just jumped the shark a little bit too much for me. So I think if anything, Chiwetel is probably going to be the strongest actor that they have in here, which is crazy because I think Tom Hardy is an amazing actor. So the fact that this is the way he chose to play Eddie Brock just really like bewilders me. I have no idea why he went that direction. But look, I'm gonna be honest, Indy, I'm right there with you in a sense that I want him to be Mordo. I absolutely would love to see him in here as Mordo. Look, you wasted a Venom 2 post credit to put Tom Hardy in the MCU, only to then waste a No Way Home post credit to return Tom Hardy back to his universe in the first place. I have been wondering what's happened to Mordo after all this time, considering what he just went through when it comes to Multiverse of Madness. Him popping up in the Sony world would not surprise me. So I am with you, Indy. That's what I want to see. But I just don't think Sony's that smart or creative to do something like that. It will probably make him something else or somebody else entirely. I'm with you, Stuart. I'm kind of over the symbiotes, so I'm hoping that that's not the route that they go. But again, it would not surprise me if we have yet again another symbiote in here. But just don't put him behind a CGI character, man. He's just too good of an actor to cover him up like that. So I am really hoping that we get something fun from him here. I'm not too familiar with the Rogues Gallery for somebody like Venom. If you guys are familiar, or if you have any suggestions as to who you personally would like to see Chiwetel Ejiofor play from the Venom Rogues Gallery, please go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. So I really have no idea who he's going to be, but if anything, if there is any hope that this movie could be good, the idea of at least bringing on a strong actor like that gives me hope. But I'm not gonna get no hope. I'm not gonna get my expectations high. Ain't no way. So we'll see how this turns out, though.
I feel like if you aren't a fan of Venom 1 and 2, I highly doubt Venom 3 is going to be the movie to change your mind.
I'm not going to the movie theaters to see it. I'm just going to be honest. Unless people come back and like, this is the best movie I've ever seen, you got to be hyped to get me to go out to the theaters to spend money on Venom 3 at this point.
Has there ever been a trilogy out there where you have two movies, the first two movies that suck, but somehow the third one is like the only good one out of them? I'm like curious, and because that would be funny if Venom of all franchises was the first one to do that.
That would be pretty interesting. I don't know how that. Yeah. Marcelino says at least with Venom films, there's a lot of dumb fun you can enjoy, and Tom Hardy's Venom makes me want to watch the movies. And I would just and he would work just as well if he was given a better script. What you got, Indy?
Thor.
Thor's
the trilogy where the first two movies suck, and then the third
Ragnarok. Okay. Listen, I can see some people agreeing with you. I personally don't, because I still love the first one. I think Ragnarok is a pretty close second, honestly, though. But there definitely will be people out there that will agree with you that probably love Ragnarok more than Dark World or the first Thor.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they're starting it over again, and then like Love and Thunder sucks. The one that come after suck, and then the third movie will be good.
I will say this in regards to Marcelino's comment. While there is a lot of dumb fun that you can enjoy, don't ever tell me, hey, I've got a Venom movie that's a bunch of dumb fun for you, because that just does not line up with me. I just do not think Venom should be that type of film. But that's just
Venom. Me. Venom is the Fast and the Furious of the Marvel cinematic universe.
I don't know. I think Fast and Furious is a little more creative with the action scenes.
Yeah, even Tony says Venom is goofy like Thor. I'll pass. I just can't. Sometimes, guys, I just can't with the anti-hero stuff. Not everybody has to be anti-hero. Not everybody has to have a good side to them. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they just don't know how to write around that concept. So we'll see.
Yeah, for me, it's like, I wouldn't say the first two Venom movies are good. I'd say that they're like watchable, but like they're not worth watching a second time is the thing.
Yes, that's probably good. Like if you've seen it once, you've seen enough.
Venom should have more of a temperament to like Klaus Michelson did, like in Vampire Diaries and the originals. Like you should go, oh, he's cool, but you should never really like him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like things he's done should be unforgivable, even if he does the right thing.
I totally agree with you, Andy. I think that would be a really great way to approach him, honestly. But look, guys, let us know your thoughts. Chiwetel Ejiofor, incredible actor, is in fact joining Venom 3 as he joins the cast. Does that give you hope for Venom 3? Who would you certainly like to see him play? Definitely go ahead and let you know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, guys, we will move on to our next topic as we dive into the world of the Karate Kid. We got one more season left of Cobra Kai over on Netflix. We've been wondering what was going to necessarily happen with that franchise or just the world in general that they've created. Sometime last year, I believe Sony also announced the idea of doing a Karate Kid movie, talking about returning to the original franchise, if you will, whether or not that means Daniel LaRusso, or maybe they just meant, hey, just not Netflix, but any sort of Karate Kid movie that we certainly have made. This week, believe it or not, though, we have got an update in regards to at least a Karate Kid movie. Whether or not this is the one that Variety mentioned about Sony doing sometime last year, that I don't definitely know, but we'll definitely dive into this article. This comes to us from discussingfilm.com. And look, I don't think we've ever really highlighted a article from discussingfilm.com. I see them on Twitter a ton of time, a lot of the time, retweeting news from sources like Variety, Deadline. They tend to really retweet and send information from relatively reliable sources. So the fact that Discussing Film is actually making an exclusive sort of article and story themselves does fascinate me. So I don't want to say take this with a grain of salt, but let's see how this certainly turns out. But according to Discussing Film, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Chan is set to return for the next Karate Kid film. It looks as though this, according to them, this is an exclusive Jackie Chan in talks to return for the next Karate Kid movie. So let's go ahead and dive into this because, listen, I love me some Jackie Chan. And to be honest with you guys, I was a big fan of his Karate Kid movie with Jaden Smith. So it says, they say, we have learned that Jackie Chan is in talks to return for the upcoming Karate Kid film from Sony Pictures, which will be directed, check this out, guys, which will be directed by Jonathan Entwistle. And if that name sounds familiar, that's because he's doing Power Rangers, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Entwistle has served as a director and executive producer on two popular Netflix original series, including I Am Not Okay With This and The End of the Effing World. He has since been attached to work on Netflix on a new Power Ranger franchise that would span both film and television. It also says Entwistle is also developing another series, yada, yada, yada. Jackie Chan is expected to reprise the role of Mr. Han, previously seen in the 2010 Karate Kid, led by Jaden Smith and directed by Harold Swart. The remake followed the 12-year-old Dre Parker, who moves to China and finds himself like a fish out of water. It was hugely successful movie. It said it's actually grossed $359 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. I did not know that, but the movie was that good. I can definitely see why it made that type of money. Fast forward to the present, and the original Karate Kid franchise has since been in a resurgence in the form of Cobra Kai on Netflix. So according to them, Jackie Chan is expected to reprise the role of Mr. Han. Whether or not that also means the return of Jaden Smith as Dre Parker, we'll definitely have to wait and see. But some big news here, guys. And so, Stuart, let me start off with you, and maybe Indy will join us here in a few minutes. What are your thoughts about this, if this is in fact true? How do you feel about Jackie Chan returning to this franchise?
Well, I really like the 2011 movie. Like, I didn't really love it the first time I saw it, but that's because I think at the time I was very much like, oh, this is too different from the original. How dare they? But then I'm sure if it was a lot more different, or if it was a lot more like the original, I would be like, then what was the point of remaking it? Kind of. But yeah, so that being said, looking at it now, great movie. And I really did love Jackie Chan's performance in it. I thought he was like the perfect mental figure for Jaden Smith. And then I also love the fact that they weren't just trying to make him exactly like Mr. Miyagi. He brought his very own kind of unique take to the role. So hearing that if they do another Karate Kid movie that he might be coming back, and directed by Jonathan Entwistle, this all sounds like good news all around the board. And I think my favorite thing about this is that because this doesn't really affect the Cobra Kai stuff, they're still able to end Cobra Kai on their own terms and, keep the franchise alive with the reboot. Like, I think this is the perfect having your cake and eating it too type of a decision that Sony could make with the Karate Kid franchise.
Yeah, it does make me interested to see if Netflix or if the Cobra Kai stuff will maybe do eventually their own Cobra Kai movie after they wrap up their series at some point in time. Who knows? But you could definitely have both aspects of this franchise continuing on if you wanted to. But for me, I'm a really big fan of this, man. I hope that Jaden Smith certainly does return. I thought he was great learning from Jackie Chan. I mean, honestly, I'm always impressed when an actor or a performer goes out of their way to actually learn how to do this stuff. And just seeing how close Jaden and Jackie Chan got on sets. If you check out a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of the stuff Jaden literally learned himself growing up as a kid. I just find hella impressive. Like, there's a really great shot in the first one of him literally doing like splits over like this rooftop balcony or some shit like that. It's just absolutely crazy to be able to see what these two were capable of and how great of on-screen sort of chemistry they definitely had. So I personally would like to see what Jaden Smith is like now at this particular point in time in his life, or maybe this is the concept of Jackie Chan coming on board as Mr. Han and training somebody else. I really have no idea. For me, I wouldn't mind the opportunity too if they wanted to connect this to the bigger overall sort of Karate Kid franchise, whether or not he would ever meet somebody like a Daniel LaRusso or ever come across like the learnings of a Mr. Miyagi or something like that and incorporate that type of stuff. Like, I would love to see little Easter eggs like that of him becoming part of the much bigger world that they've built so far for this franchise. So look, this gets me hyped. If anything, Stuart, when we talk about, hey, what people should come on Cobra Kai, right? Like, we talk about Hilary Swank returning. I think we've even joked about the idea of Jackie Chan or Jaden popping up. We didn't think that those were definitely plausible just because it felt like it was just completely separate. But I like the idea of maybe them bringing everybody sort of back into the fold. But regardless, if this is in fact true, Jackie Chan, I'll put Jackie Chan in almost anything action related and I'll be a happy camper, honestly, is what it comes down to for me. But I'm pumped for this. I think it's a good move, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I could see Cobra Kai kind of ending like Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, where everything's all wrapped up. Then someone comes to Daniel and they're like, "Hey, someone's here to see you." And Daniel's like, "Oh, what? Who? I don't know. They said they knew Miyagi though." And then he walks out, and then it's Han right there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. Or maybe, who knows, maybe Jaden comes in as like he was the student, now he's the teacher to maybe help get Cobra Kai or another dojo up and running. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty cool, man. Now I'm just talking out my ass now. I really don't think they're gonna do any of this.
Oh, they're not. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
but it'd be fun.
I think Ralph Macchio actually did say that when writing this show, they still consider like the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan to be in a separate universe.
Oh, a separate universe. See, I would like to bring them into the fold. I mean, they're over in China.
Yeah.
I don't see why they can't live in the same world. So we'll see what happens here. But this one definitely gets me excited. And I am kind of curious if this is the same Sony film that they were talking about sometime last year, or if there's going to be another movie. I really have no idea what route they're going to go.
I really hope it is just that same Sony movie. I think like Sony wanted to bring back the Karate Kid franchise. They didn't know how to when they made this announcement. And now that they thought about the fact that, okay, so the original universe is kind of working out really well on Netflix, we should just go back to the, remake that we did back in the early 2010s and bring that back.
Yeah, that might be a pretty good strategy. So we'll see what else they create when it comes to Sony's Karate Kid franchise. But wanted to give you some casting news in that regard. So let us know your levels of excitement. Are you excited to see Jackie Chan back in this world as Mr. Han? And what did you think of the 2010 Karate Kid film yourself? Let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, we will in fact wrap up that topic. And if anything, we've got one more topic for you guys today, as we're going to change course here. And we're going to get into one of my all-time favorite movies. Now, look, guys, I know I'm a big nerd. I grew up loving me some Star Wars. Star Wars is probably my favorite franchise to certainly be attached to. But trust me when I say a Star Wars movie is not my favorite movie of all time. My favorite movie of all time is, in fact, the first Back to the Future film, a film that a lot of people say is perfect in its own right, that shouldn't be rebooted whatsoever. Robert Zemeckis himself says, until, like, not over my dead body sort of mentality. He will not let anybody do a reboot for this movie until he's in the grave. And the question really comes up, does this movie need a reboot? It's been several years. I don't even remember when this movie came out. Was it 82 or something like that? Back to the Future.
85.
85. So I was literally like 2 or 3 years old when this movie dropped. I watched this movie on VHS religiously. Absolutely love this film. And somebody else this week, Stuart, actually came out and almost echoed Robert Zemeckis's comments, and that is none other than Michael J. Fox himself. Like, if there's anybody you want an opinion from when it comes to should we do a Back to the Future reboot, it is, in fact, Michael J. Fox. This comes to us from Variety.com. Michael J. Fox says, a Back to the Future reboot doesn't need to exist, but do what you want. I got paid already. In only the way Michael J. Fox certainly can. So let's go ahead and dive into this news and hear what he's got to say. It says, if Hollywood ever opts to reboot Back to the Future without the original cast, Michael J. Fox says he's at peace with this decision. He says, look, I'm not a fanatical. He says, do what you want. It's your movie. I got paid already. But that doesn't mean that he thinks it's a good idea. Fox also believes that Robert Zemeckis, the trilogy's director and writer, and his co-writer, Bob Gale, wouldn't be down with it either. He says, I don't think it needs to be done, is what Michael J. Fox says. He says, I think Bob and Bob have been really smart about that. I don't think it needs rebooting because are you going to clarify something? Are you going to find a better way to tell the story? I doubt it. So was Fox ever approached about returning to Hill Valley as the time-traveling Marty McFly after the series wrapped up in the 1990s Back to the Future Part 3? He says, I'm sure somebody thought about it, but I was in the early stages of Parkinson's at that point, so I don't know that I would have wanted to make that one. Right after Part 3 had done well, there might have been conversations about it, but I never got involved in them. Christopher Lloyd at some point said, I would love to do a sequel, but I think Bob Zemeckis felt that they need the story. They told the story they needed to in 3 episodes. But if someone has a brilliant idea that would justify a 4th film, it might happen, according to Christopher Lloyd. So yeah, well, first off, I got to say, Stuart, the fact that we just literally said Back to the Future released in 1985, and this article just said Back to the Future 3 released 5 years later in 1990. Michael J. Fox was probably doing nothing with his life during that time. The fact that they were able to put out 3 movies in a matter of 5 years just sounds bananas to me. That feels like just round the clock filming. But maybe I'm tripping here. But what do you think about all this in regards to what Michael J. Fox is saying? He clearly doesn't think it needs to be done. What is there to clarify? I already got paid, but hey, do what you want. How would you respond to that?
Well, first, to the 3 movies in 5 years, the reason is because like Back to the Future 2 and 3 were shot like basically kind of back to back.
Genius.
Yeah, so like 89 was Back to the Future 2, and then I believe 1990 was the 3rd one. But yeah, as to what Michael J. Fox says in terms of reboots and whether or not this series needs to be rebooted, I mostly agree that doesn't need to happen. I think the Back to the Future story, was just a perfect, solid, they told the story they wanted to tell. They wrapped it up perfectly. And if you really did want more after that, the closest thing to a Back to the Future 4 that you can get, we have the, Back to the Future video game by Telltale, which was actually pretty good. So, I do kind of agree with him. There isn't really a need to keep the franchise going. That said, I do think there is a world where we could get a similar premise to Back to the Future. Basically, essentially get like a Back to the Future remake or reboot without calling it Back to the Future, because I do think the type of story that gets told in Back to the Future is always relevant. Kind of the generational difference that we see between ourselves and our parents, and then kind of the realization that our parents were kids once as well, and that they made the same dumb mistakes that we used to make as kids as well. I think that story will always be relevant, and you don't have to call it Back to the Future, but I wouldn't be opposed to getting like, another type of story where someone from, let's say, modern time 2020 goes back to 1990 and accidentally prevents their parents from meeting, or almost prevents something that could make a huge difference in the future in a negative way. I do think that type of story can be told. You just don't have to call it a Back to the Future remake.
Stuart, I'm probably gonna echo your sentiments here. I am look, I personally don't think a reboot certainly needs to happen, but I do think at some point it will. Um, Maybe not in the next 10 years, maybe not even in the next 15 years, but I agree with you. The premise itself definitely is one that could be utilized, especially as we continue to get further and further and further away from 1985. That's almost like we're literally almost 40 years away since this movie wind up dropping. Do you have to wait another 40 years in order to sort of get that generational impact? I don't even necessarily think so. Maybe like in another 10 years. I mean, just literally the idea that, look, I'm 40 years old, okay? The idea that like there are literally people in this world that have never been born before the 2000s, I think is plenty excuse that you need, that if you wanted to do a reboot, you probably could have some fun with it and visiting the 80s or the 90s. But maybe hold off just a little bit longer. And so my thing would be, stick to that premise, similar to you, Stuart. You maybe look, if you want to call it Back to the Future, maybe you can call it that, even if you want to. Maybe you don't have to. But I do think you could probably do another Back to the Future movie in, say, another 10 to 20 years, and just have brand new characters, but the premise sort of be the same. I don't need another Doc or another Marty. If you want a scientist and another character, that's fine. Just give them different names. But I just don't want you to touch the beloved characters or feel like you got to retell that same exact story, but like in a different way now, sort of thing, with those characters. I think if anything, if you are going to tackle that concept within the next several years, definitely make it a fresh new story with fresh new characters that maybe have a car that goes back into the future, and take some liberties here or there, sort of thing. But I don't see the need to make another Back to the Future movie as of right now. Maybe after the passing of Michael J. Fox, maybe after the passing of Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale, you don't have these hoops that you have to certainly jump through. I think maybe by that time, people would be much more okay with that concept. And listen, you've gotten enough distance between the films and enough time just in general to where if you need to go back 20 years or ahead 20 years, there's a lot that you can definitely play with within certainly that amount of time. So we'll see what happens. But Michael J. Fox already got paid, man. He don't care at this point.
Yeah. I feel like if I was an actor in a movie that I was passionate about, that would probably be my response too. Like, do what you want. I got my money.
And usually like after a 20-year period, I'm usually open to the idea of like, okay, maybe I think it's okay to do a reboot after a certain period of time. Because look, unfortunately, Stuart, there's just some people that don't like going back and watching old movies. I hear people, if it's black and white, I don't really watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, if a movie's 20 years old, right? Some people still won't even watch it because it's so freaking old. So I do think that there are moments in generations where it does need to be modernized and updated and rebooted, especially if it's a really good story. Not everything does. And I think that's one of the reasons why Back to the Future is so incredibly good, that despite nobody wanting it to be rebooted right now, another 10 to 15 years, and with the unfortunate passing of some people, I do think that we could probably get ourselves another reboot of it, if you will. Not quite a revival, but a reboot of it.
A joke that they have to make if they go with the premise of, today, a kid from today going back to the 90s, they got to do a joke where that main character goes to someone, is like, hey, I'm lost. Can I borrow your phone? And then that person just replies like, Yes, I take my phone from my house with me everywhere. Freaking moron. No, I mean a cell phone. Oh yes, I'm a millionaire. I can totally afford a cell phone.
Yeah, there are definitely great gags and jokes you could definitely have with doing one right now. Marcelino says, I kind of want studios to do reboots on films that had great ideas but poor execution, so we could get better versions of what we got. That might be something for them to definitely tackle. I would be open for that. So yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Look, I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to the trilogy of Back to the Future 3 or Back to the Future, you know, I first one is my favorite. Second is such a good movie, especially with the hoverboard. 3, I think for me is the weakest of the entry. Just because I think maybe even watching it as a young kid, I didn't really care for westerns, so the western sort of set pieces didn't really do too much for me. The idea of the big locomotive as the time travel was a little too goofy for me too, I think. So there are elements that just are way too cheesy that I didn't really care for when it comes to Back to the Future 3. Some of it definitely works, but the third one definitely sort of fell off towards the end for me. But I do think as a trilogy, pretty damn good, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really funny. So the first movie is like my all-time favorite comedy, like ever. It's straight up like in my top 5 favorite movie, probably top 3 favorite movies of all time. Back when I first started watching this channel before I was on, so this was like 2018 or 2019. I remember there was a podcast with you and Indy, and something about Back to the Future came up in conversation, and Indy was saying that he thought the movie was like super overrated, and then I like commented as a joke, and I'm like, well, I've just unsubscribed to this channel.
Yeah, like we don't always see eye to eye from time to time, man. But there's just something about the first one that has such great charm about it. Michael J. Fox was just a stellar actor with just incredible timing. How could you not love the guy? The premise was so unique and fun at the time. Time traveling, which always felt like they always did it right. I never really had that many complaints about the time traveling aspect. The soundtrack was always incredible. And honestly, despite having watched this movie like 150 times in my life, probably already, there is something about the climax of this movie that still gives me goosebumps. Like when the soundtrack hits, as Marty is trying, Doc is trying to get the plug in time, and Marty's racing down the street. I'm just like, oh my God, is he gonna make it? Like, I literally get fucking goosebumps every time I watch it. That's just movie magic, and I don't think a lot of movies can repeat that sort of emotion and feeling. But Back to the Future just does for me, man. It's just a great movie. It's just honestly a great film.
Everything about that climax is amazing because every time you think they got one obstacle taken care of, suddenly there's another obstacle.
Great
like
writing.
My favorite is just Christopher Lloyd's face when he like is on the clock tower, he plugs it in, and then the thing gets unplugged underneath. Oh,
yo, like all the time. All the time. It's such a good film, man. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out Back to the Future because it's too old of a movie, please do yourselves a favor and go ahead and certainly check it out. Blossom says, I like the time travel train. Some people probably did too. It was pretty short-lived though, unfortunately, I think. But yeah, it definitely just popped up towards the end. Blossom says the second one is my favorite about all of them, but I love how the first one ended. I like that George became an author like me due to Marvy's interference with time. And again, I always love the concept of time travel through Back to the Future. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, man, it's a concept that works so well. Why doesn't everybody utilize it? And the fact that even something like Avengers Endgame brings up the Back to the Future reference, I thought was brilliant. And just again to show you how good of a movie it truly is when Endgame references it, So yeah, let me know your guys' love for this film in the comment section box below.
Yeah, like first one, all-time favorite comedy. Second one, almost as good as the first one. Super insane movie though. Like holy shit, you need like a breather after watching it. And then I like the third one. Not my favorite, definitely. Like I agree with you, the weakest out of the trilogy, but I do still really enjoy it.
Yeah, they had some really great moments with Doc and his love life. I thought that was pretty fun. I dug the concepts of seeing some of the like the grave of Doc and even the idea of like hiding the DeLorean in the cave after all those years and having it be there. Sort of just really cool concepts and things that they really thought out to kind of make the trilogy itself kind of work overall. So great stuff. Ramjan says Back to the Future is one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, guys, spew your Back to the Future love in our comment section, please. Let us know how you're feeling about it. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, I think that will wrap up all of our main topics for the day. So thank you very much, guys, for everybody who certainly came through today. Hopefully you guys certainly enjoyed all of our main topics. But Stuart, I think you know what time it is, sir.
It is time for live viewer questions.
And we're gonna go ahead.
So I will unfortunately have to take off at around 1:30 if that's all right.
Okay, how much time we got? Like 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, no problem. All right, guys. So I got Stuart here for a little bit. So we'll try and get through as many as we possibly can. Maybe I'll answer some questions myself. Maybe we'll get to all the Power Ranger questions while you're here, Stuart.
Right.
Maybe we'll knock a lot of those out. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. For those of you who are wondering, how do I go about submitting a question to A+ Hero Report? Usually after Wednesdays or Thursdays, during the middle of the week, we'll go ahead and post on our community tab. So just go over to our YouTube page here. Click on community as you see down here, and then you'll see our live viewer questions post leading into the weekend. And goddamn, we got 29 questions. So we probably won't get to all of them today, but trust me when I say we definitely will do our part to try and get to as many as we can. Marcelino Vasquez is up first. I know you guys said that you don't like fight scenes where the background music has lyrics, but are some of your favorite fight scenes? But what are some of your favorite fight scenes where the music does have lyrics? Did I state that? Did we say that once?
I don't remember that. But right off the top of my head, I can just think of Kingsman. That fight scene in the church, like, has lyrics in the music, but it's such a fucking cool fight scene.
Fight sequences with music lyrics. It's not necessarily a fight scene, but it is an action piece. And I'm gonna date myself here. It's not the best action sequence, but it honestly gets me hyped every time. Short Circuit 2, when Johnny is trying to fight the villain and he's like punked out in his spikes and shit. Like Johnny 5 is gone kind of rogue here and edgy, and he's chasing homeboy down to Bonnie Tyler's "I Need a Hero." And I fucking love that song. You put that song onto any trailer or any action sequence, and it makes it 100 times better. Even a robot chasing down a human, it's fantastic. But Bonnie Tyler's "I Need a Hero" and Short Circuit 2, great action sequence that had great lyrics to it also. So yeah, no, if I did say that, Marcelino, then either I misspoke or I didn't hear the question correctly, because there are plenty of great action sequences. And I don't even know, I'll even go to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I believe that big action sequence had lyrics to it.
Yeah,
in the hallway, right?
Yeah.
Was that who sang that song? Was that Beastie Boys? Was that a Beastie Boys song?
I believe so.
I can't remember, but that action sequence was incredible. It actually kind of reminded me of like an Avengers action sequence. The one shot spinning, going up and down a hallway or spinning around everybody and seeing everybody do action. That was incredible, and that had lyrics as well. So yeah, if I did say that, Marcelino, I clearly misspoke. Because I love me a good action sequence, especially when you get to beat somebody's ass to it. That's got some lyrics. So yeah, give it to me. Jessica Friedman, do you think Superman and Lois should just move to HBO Max instead of waiting for the CW to make their minds? And do you think we will see a trailer? And when do you think we will see a trailer for Cosmic Fury? Do you want to answer that first one?
It definitely should. I just don't think it will. But yes, I do think it should.
And Marcelino says, I've been watching some of your older videos on Facebook lately. Well, I appreciate you going back and checking some of that stuff out. But yeah, I might have misspoken the last one, or maybe I'm just an idiot, Marcelino. I have no idea. As for do you think we will see a trailer for Cosmic Fury? I'm sure we'll get a trailer. When we'll probably get one. When is that supposed to release? Do you know, Stuart? Is that like August, September?
I want to say August, right?
I can't remember the release date for it, but whatever the month before it is,
Yeah.
I'll probably expect it like late July, perhaps,
Yeah,
if it comes out in August.
Netflix releases their trailers usually like very last minute, I've noticed.
Yeah, they definitely do. Blossom, you're next. From most of the current day Super Sentai, which one had the best graphics and CGI? And then she says, of all the plot holes Power Rangers had, which one would you fix? Personally, I'd fix how they got the old Sentai powers in Super Mega Fail. Still pisses me off when Jake and Emma use Flashman without any explanation. That really pissed a lot of people off. Would you fix that plot hole, Stuart, or do you have any other plot holes that you would fix?
What is one that I would fix? I guess like, because I'd have to fix the entire episode, but I guess I'd fix like just the Megaforce episode where they go to like Corinth City, and it's clearly not Corinth City from RPM at all. I would make it more accurate to RPM basically instead of just relying on stock footage. Yeah. But actually, sorry, real quick, fun story about the Sentai stuff. So during Q&A once, Andrew, the dude that played the Red Ranger, he gets this kid asking him a question. This kid was probably like 10 years old, maybe a little older, but he was like, why were there Super Sentai Rangers during the final mega battle at the end? That made no sense. And Andrew's like, oh, I asked the showrunner, and he said because kids your age wouldn't care.
Oh God, yeah, that's a great response. Great response. She also says from most of the current day Super Sentai, which one had the best graphics and CGI? Off the bat, one that jumps out to me is Dawn Brothers. I was really impressed with Dawn Brothers, especially their Zord battles. Hella impressed me. Some of the best Zord battles that I've seen in a really long time. And I was kind of hesitant about the idea of it being sort of like an all CGI. I think Dawn Brothers is a good one, and I'll even put Kara Major up there. I think Kara Major has some really good special effects and CGI also. So as far as modern day Super Sentai stuff, yeah, I would say Kara Major and Dawn Brothers.
That one scene where it was like all one take in Cure Major, but you had like several battles going on, ground fight, like all at once. That that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I do remember that one. That was always some pretty good one. And they had a really great like warehouse shot where it went up like from the first level up to the second floor, through a couple like walls, through a window out to like a fall mat on outside sort of thing. And then homeboy like runs into the middle of an open street, and then he sees a Zord. I mean, they did some incredible things with Kara Major for sure. So yeah, Kara Major definitely got my attention, and Dawn Brothers with the incredible Zord stuff. We got Indy here. What's up, Indy? Says, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't think Indy's going to be joining us for the rest of the show. So we'll definitely hopefully see you next week, Indy, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing your review for The Flash this week. Let's see here. A Ram Jam got a couple questions. Have you watched season 3 of Ultraman on Netflix? If so, what are your thoughts? I have not yet, Ram Jam. I know we kind of talked about this last week that you went ahead and checked it out for yourself. I need to revisit this series. I think I completed season 1, but I wouldn't mind a rewatch before diving into season 2. But season 3 is in fact going to be the final season of Ultraman on Netflix, at least in this capacity. I am kind of curious to know what you thought of this series, Ram Jam. So let me know your thoughts of season 3 if you've completed it. But I haven't had the opportunity to check it out yet, but it is on my to-watch list. Have you, Stuart, at all, or no?
Only season 1 so far, so I haven't checked out seasons. I didn't even know season 2 and 3 were out. So
yeah, they're out right now.
It's definitely now on my list, so I'll check it out.
It took them a while for season 2 to actually drop, and I actually feel like season 2 and 3 came relatively quickly compared to the gap between season 1 and season 2. So yeah, they might have snuck by a lot of people. He also asked, what are your favorite DC cartoon? Justice League the animated series or Unlimited?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'm gonna go with Unlimited because even though I really like the 2-part format that Justice League had, I think Unlimited had so many more memorable like episodes and moments that really stuck out. And I think just the fact that there was just this really mature line between Justice and God, what's the term I'm looking for? Like the borderline of trying to figure out how you can be a hero to the people without essentially being a dictator to the people, like trying to figure out that balance. Like, we're not here to control people, we're here to help them. But like that gets challenged to our superheroes so many times in Unlimited. I think it was just so well written.
Yeah, I can't really answer this question just because while growing up, I definitely watched a bunch of the Batman and the Superman stuff, and I did watch Justice League. I believe it might have been at that time though the animated series. I don't know if I ever fully got on board with Unlimited or when Unlimited dropped. It might have missed me completely, unfortunately. But if anything, I'll have to go back and definitely check it out because I do hear some great things about that season.
Unfortunately, with me, the reason I didn't watch Unlimited when it first came out, my family was in the process of moving, so we didn't have cable for like the longest time for about a year straight. So when I went back to watching it, and I saw Justice League Unlimited and how it had like the title implies, an unlimited amount of superheroes, I thought I had missed a season of Justice League, and that led to that. I didn't realize that there wasn't really an episode that led to them becoming Justice League Unlimited. It was just Justice League ended and now there's like a bigger Justice League. So for the longest time I kind of put off Justice League Unlimited because I thought I was missing something.
I'll have to go back because I always loved that art style, and I always thought they had some really great storytelling back in. Was that early 2000s for that?
Yeah, like 2000. Like I think it started like 2001 and then ended like 2004.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I might have missed out. I might have missed out on that one. We got Datila in the house. What's up, Datila? Good to see you. What are your thoughts on Seth freaking Rollins getting a role in Captain America: New World Order? Do you think he will go Hollywood just like The Rock and John Cena and Batista? Just to clarify what Datila is saying, Captain America 4, New World Order is currently filming. They actually went ahead and released some set photos this week that you could see here. Seth freaking Rollins right there decked out in what looks to be either a black or gray or maybe even a green sort of suit with like some sort of gold lining. There are some people speculating that he might be part of the Serpent Society. They teased us several years ago, Stuart, with the fake title of the Captain America movie Serpent Society, and people lost their shit. But now we've got Captain America 4 New World Order, and people are still on to this Serpent Society stuff, and they're kind of hoping that this is the first look of Seth Rollins showcasing that. They also went ahead and gave us a shot of Anthony Mackie in what looks to be a brand new Captain America outfit, going a little bit darker here in the color tones this time around instead of what we saw at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So yeah, we got ourselves some great set photos here this week as New World Order continues. But yeah, do you have any thoughts, Stuart, on Seth freaking Rollins joining this cast? Do you think he will go Hollywood? Do you think that's his next big step or what?
Hopefully it's definitely a perfect first step for him. I always love it when when wrestlers enter the world of acting, because that's basically what they're doing before. So
yeah, and some wrestlers not maybe the best performers in the world, but if anything,
Hulk Hogan was pretty bad.
Yeah, brother. But if anything, I really like Seth Rollins' character on Monday Night Raw. I do think that he definitely has a lot of range, and I think he's capable of it. Honestly, I do think that he would be capable. Like, I feel like WWE, when you become a big megastar and you start hitting Hollywood sort of thing, it's like they kind of almost like when you get to that point, it almost feels like they trust you to be able to carry the entire WWE on your back. And based off of just Seth Rollins' career, I definitely do think that he would be a really great sort of um, a mouthpiece, if you will, for the WWE. He does have a big championship match coming up this upcoming Saturday. Putting the belt on him wouldn't surprise me a little bit, especially if he is going to be making this move to Hollywood. I don't know if it's going to be as big and as immediate as something like The Rock and John Cena, like just thrust it into everything immediately. But I do think that if he holds the title, I think he could be the face of WWE. And when you're the face of WWE, you get these sort of type of opportunities that open up for you. And so, yeah, it would not surprise me if he eventually went down this route, because I do think personally he's just that good of a performer. So I do think that he can certainly make it work. Another Stuart here. Corone becoming the Pink Galaxy Ranger will always be so satisfying. From her being forced into the Princess of Evil as Astronema, then to becoming Power Rangers, is one of the best stories in PR history. I'm sure Andros already found out right after Lost Galaxy ended. The last few Corona episodes were pretty solid, and she fit in with the team so naturally. My working theory was that because everything needed to be done so quickly during production, after Valerie Vernon had to leave for medical treatment, the scripts didn't have time to go through the proper channels to be fully scrutinized and edited. So their first idea was probably their only idea. Unfortunately, Corone had great story potential. I'm so glad they didn't downplay her past as Astronema or as Corone herself, which it felt like they had more time. They would have either ignored. While Super Megaforce was a disgrace to Power Rangers, it was great to see Corone return as one of the 10 veteran Rangers, even if her cameo was just very brief. So let me just say real quick, I totally agree with you, Stuart, in the sense that I do think it's one of the best stories in PR history. And if anything, I think honestly maybe one of the best sort of PR character arcs in regards to seeing where a character came from and where she sort of ended up today. I don't know if I would say the best character arc, but one that has always fascinated me. And I love the concept of villains turning good and eventually having a very long lasting career as a Power Ranger. So it was always very satisfying for me personally. So I would definitely agree with you, Stuart. But what do you think, Stuart, when you hear Stuart talk about this?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that like the way she was introduced as the villain in Power Rangers in Space, and then she eventually like kind of not only turned to good, but then actually started fighting for good as the Pink Ranger. Yeah, I think that was a perfect arc. I don't want to, sound like mean or anything, but like, because I do think it is kind of messed up that the reason the, Pink and Space Ranger didn't come back for Lost Galaxy was because they were going to underpay her compared to the rest of the cast. And I think that's messed up. But as weird as it is to say, I also am kind of glad it worked out that way, because I do think Astronema coming back as Corone coming back, I think just ended up leading to better storytelling.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Next up, we got Jack Daniels, because it is 5 o'clock somewhere. What were some underrated DCEU movies that deserve more love? He says, in my opinion, the most underrated film in the DCEU is Birds of Prey. I feel so many people crap on the movie for no real reason. People didn't really give it a chance, and given the low box office performance, I'm almost sure most of the vocal haters didn't even see it, especially since the cast was entirely of women aside from Black Mask. They probably saw it as a feminist propaganda movement. I still watch the movie on Blu-ray, and it's super fun. Love the characters and action sequences. While not one of my top favorite comic book movie films, it's still very fun and refreshing every time I watch it. I do agree with most people that Jared Leto as Joker was a bad choice. I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn and being the primary focus. Plus, being the one to recruit her own team to beat up bad guys was just plain awesome. So I would give this film a solid B for being over the top and outrageous. So yeah, Stuart. Aside from his thoughts on Birds of Prey, is there any other MCU or DCEU movies you felt are underrated and deserve more love?
I think Shazam 2 wasn't that bad. I actually thought it was a pretty entertaining movie, so I was kind of surprised. Like, I'm not surprised that it wasn't a success. I'm just surprised at how much of a failure it was in the box office.
Yeah, that definitely surprised. I lead that a lot to marketing, because I felt like when I went and saw Shazam 2, I almost felt like there was more to the movie that even the trailers didn't explain. And I felt like there was like, while I get the idea that there's like a twist and a turn in the movie, so there's only but so much that you can reveal. I gotta think like, man, there's got to be some other way of promoting that and marketing it so people understand the full depths of what they're getting themselves into. But I do think that's a good choice. Um, you know, look, you know me, Stuart. I love me some Man of Steel. I still think it's super underrated and certainly deserves more love. But I get some of the people's complaints certainly in regards to it. But I do think that Zack Snyder personally nailed it in regards to giving me a lot of things that I really wanted to out of a Superman movie. So I definitely would. I definitely would probably put that up on my list. But I think Birds of Prey is another good one too. What's up? Adam was gonna say Man of Steel. I know it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Marcelino has been watching this movie enough. Has been watching us enough to know I'm gonna say it. Like I said this before, maybe I think even on like live viewer questions last week. They were like, I think I talked about, have you ever seen that tweet that goes out, Stuart, where it's like, what movie are you defending like this? And you look at somebody's super long cell phone, it's just a huge long ass text message. That's me. That's me when it comes to that. But I would agree with Jack though. Like while I enjoyed Birds of Prey, I think even I'm underrating it. Like I think I've maybe seen that movie twice and I have fun with it each time I watch it. And I just haven't watched it as much as I probably could. And so yeah, there definitely was some fun elements of Birds of Prey. I didn't think it was like perfect, but it was definitely one of those things like this feels like a Harley Quinn movie to me. Absolutely. So I think it was definitely the type of movie that it meant to be. Just maybe wasn't the expectations of others, but I do think that's a good choice for an underrated film.
Yeah, I liked it overall. And yeah, I do agree it is kind of underrated because I do think like some of the harsh like critiques people had were, kind of harsh. My only big complaints about the movie were like some of the names. Like specifically, I feel like it shouldn't have been called Birds of Prey, should have been called Harley Quinn. And then also with Cassandra Cain, that just wasn't Cassandra Cain at all. But it is a good movie overall. Like I, found it very entertaining.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And then I should
it is.
probably
It
get
is
going because it
all
is
right. Yeah.
1:30. But
Awesome. Thank you so much,
so
Stuart.
much for having me on the show, and I will definitely see you next week.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much, man, and have a good rest of your weekend.
You too.
All right, guys. So we will move on to the next here. Kurt Marino, MCU versus DCEU argument. I always thought it was weird that the DC didn't try to copy Marvel because I don't feel like Marvel did anything beyond ordinary. They certainly didn't invent the idea of a shared comic book universe, and they didn't invent the idea of a crossover. All Marvel had done was utilize those concepts to their advantage. There was nothing to necessarily copy. It was just making movies and having the planning of connecting them later. Whereas the DCEU just tried to play catch up to the MCU. I genuinely enjoyed some, if not all, of the DCEU films we've had up to now. If they had just taken their time and not skyrocketed to the Justice League film, I feel the whole DCEU would have not only been received better, but would have just been better movies. Hopefully, James Gunn's reboot really does change the DC for the better. It is kind of annoying that the future of DC will ultimately be determined by how the Flash movie does, even though James Gunn is already developing his new universe. Well, look, I think the Flash movie is certainly going to be the last hurrah for whatever came before in the DCEU. And I think they're probably going to certainly utilize it to launch what James Gunn is certainly going to do. So if anything, I think David Zaslav will probably give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt, regardless of how the Flash movie does, to at least launch and get started on his particular universe. Now, I just hope David Zaslav doesn't do the same mistake of immediately sort of pulling the plug or course correcting after like the first 2 or 3 projects that wind up coming out. Like you really got to let these movies sort of breathe and build up the world certainly around them. I will say this in regards to your question, though, Kurt. You said I always thought that it was weird that DC didn't try and copy Marvel. Look, I would agree with you. I do find it odd that they didn't want to copy Marvel because for me, Marvel is the template. You say I don't feel like Marvel did anything beyond ordinary. What Marvel did was beyond ordinary. I don't remember there ever being a shared comic book universe before what the MCU tried to create. If I'm wrong, please somebody correct me in the comment section box below. Have we had comic book movies before? Absolutely. But I don't even necessarily know if the concept of a shared comic book universe was maybe on their mind fully when they first dropped Iron Man or even the Incredible Hulk. Maybe it's something that they were kind of hoping for and planning, like, hey, maybe this could get bigger. Let's put some Easter eggs here. But I think once they realized what they had on their hand, I think they were just like, okay, let's fully pull the trigger on maybe what we have sort of in store. So, like for me, I think Marvel definitely did something beyond the ordinary, to the point to where now, if you look around you, there's not really that many successful sort of big cinematic universes in that regards. Um, that have done it. I mean, like what we're talking like 20 MCU movies, telling a story over a period of like 10 years. There are a ton of franchises that would die to have sort of that level of storytelling, and the movement of it all continue to get better and better and better as you continue to go forward, you know. So there is a part of me that definitely sees what the MCU has done as unique. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm surprised that DC didn't copy that particular formula. Um, do I think they needed it to in order to be successful? I don't. I think the idea of it not being successful came from the idea of them being more reactionary than anything and not letting Zack Snyder fully tell the story that he wants to create. Because honestly, if you ask me, I think Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut, is an incredible comic book movie in its own right. Could probably be top 5 on anybody's list day of the week. So I do think Zack Snyder had a plan, but unfortunately, they did not allow him to execute it. So do I think they needed to follow the Marvel formula? No, but I do think it is in fact a proven track record. And I do think that might be elements of what even James Gunn winds up doing to kind of take his time building out this slate of DCEU films. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll definitely see what happens, but I'm definitely gonna cross my fingers that James Gunn definitely revives the DCEU at some point in time. Nicole Robertson, what's up, Nicole? Have you seen or heard the classic Disney Channel movie Freaky Friday? I have heard of it. I personally have not watched it. Yes, I know how huge of a movie it is. Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis, absolutely aware of it. With a sequel in development now confirmed by both Lohan and Curtis via different interviews, how do you think the sequel would work? I've heard from others theorizing that Lindsay and Jamie's characters are mother and daughter. They have a complicated relationship again all these years, and they go through another Freaky Friday situation. Maybe Lindsay is married now, yet she and her mother still don't see eye to eye, or maybe someone else in the family go through the body swap situation, or all do or they all do as a test of some sort. Yeah, I don't if anything, as far as how a sequel would work, I think if you're going to do that again, I don't necessarily know if I need it to be just Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis's character again. For me, it might be even fun to do like if Lindsay was a mom now, you know, if she's married, maybe Lindsay's character, maybe she does it with her own daughter at that point in time. And then you've got somebody like Jamie Lee that maybe helps guide them through it all. Or like you mentioned, maybe the idea of like all of them wind up swapping. I think that might be kind of fun also. I just think it should be more than just Lindsay and Jamie's character. But I think if you start adding other members of the family, I think that could definitely work for sure. I think at the time when this movie came out, was this 2003? I was like 20 years old. So I probably looked at it and was like, it's probably not for me. And just never went back and watched it, despite how big of a cult classic and just a classic film that it certainly is for a lot of people. The girlfriend might absolutely kill me for stating I've never seen this movie before. It might be a movie she forces me down to watch now. Adam Perea. Can we all agree that Adam Park was the GOAT in Power Rangers right after Tommy? This man risked his life in always a Ranger by using damaged power morpher to help Carlos after he briefly decided to give up being a Power Ranger after accidentally injuring Cassie on the battlefield. Watching that episode always gave me goosebumps, and that Adam himself said that he sometimes wished he was still a Power Ranger. You can tell he really loved being a Ranger, and that this man even came back 9 years later and once a Ranger. Yeah, I was always felt Adam loved being a Power Ranger. I don't know, the vibe he always gave off, his enthusiasm. I always felt that way too. He even managed to help Andrew Hartford with the morphing grid by bringing back Alpha 6. I cannot forget about his awesome line, and maybe old school, but still gets the job done, which is just awesome and was a great nod to Tommy's line in Dino Thunder. Adam's last appearance was in the 30th anniversary special, Once and Always, where him and Aisha, now part of the newly established SPA, the predecessor of SPD. Adam is surely a force to be reckoned with. Johnny Young Bosch is just awesome dude, and that he really loves coming back to the franchise. Yeah, man, I love me some Johnny Young Bosch as Adam. As far as Adam being the GOAT right after Tommy, I will say this. I'm sure there are plenty of Power Ranger fans that probably wouldn't put Adam right after Tommy. But I would say I would find it hard pressed for Adam to not be in everybody's top 5 Power Rangers at least. I think the legacy that this man has left behind has been pretty damn impressive. Like, I got to think that Walter Jones is super happy with what Johnny Young Bosch was able to do as not only the Black Ranger, but sort of continue along that Mastodon legacy. You know what I mean? The sacrifice, the putting himself before danger. Man, Adam, you're almost convincing me that he should be right behind Tommy. He might be in my top 3, honestly. Whether he's in my top 2, that I'm really gonna have to think about this. But you're doing some pretty damn good convincing here, Adam. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. Where would you put Adam Park on your list of Rangers? Is he top 2, top 3, top 5? Go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts. Jackson Peterson, with Fast X coming out this weekend, what were some of your favorite moments from all 9 films, and what was your reaction when you heard about Paul Walker's passing? Do you think Fast X will honor Paul in some capacity? We did briefly see his car drive up to Toretto House at the end of Fast 8. Because of the fact that I haven't seen all 9 films, I don't necessarily want to get into the favorite moments, but I will answer some of the other aspect of that question for you, Jackson. You know, do I think Fast X will honor Paul Walker? I think so. If I'm not mistaken, I believe his sister or his daughter might be in Fast X. I think she might have been seen briefly in like one of the trailers or like a clip that they recently released. I can't remember, but something tells me that there is a Paul Walker family member, whether that's his sister or his daughter, in this movie. And that's good enough for me. If they want to go ahead and give him another sort of honor in this film in another type of way, a tease of his car driving up, yeah, maybe. But I think that tease that you see of his car driving up, I think that might be one of Paul Walker's character's relatives. As far as what was my reaction when I heard about Paul Walker's passing, just sad, just sad, way too young. It's always super tragic when a great actor like that just gets taken away. And you just already know what the potential of not only the franchise, but what have hit him as an actor could have possibly been. Just really sad stuff. And honestly, it is probably one of those things that took me out of the franchise. Not the fact that I thought Paul Walker was like the best aspect of Fast and the franchise, but it just felt like going back was just too sad for me, and that might have been the last Fast and the Furious film that I watched. And after that, I just haven't really had the motivation to go ahead and continue along. So maybe the Paul Walker passing really stuck with me more than I thought, or I don't want to say ruined the franchise, but just took me off of the franchise more than I certainly thought. But it was just tragic stuff, man. Just tragic. Adrian Perez, he says, this might be the last question, or I might try and get to Carter's also before we wrap up here. Just a heads up. Adrian Perez, my wife and I revisited the MMPR movie from '95, and it actually holds up well, except for the Zords. Anyways, the Ranger suits that were in the movie still look very cool. Absolutely. With the battle armor design. To this day, I wish we had gotten the movie suits for the TV show, but we know that Fox owned the rights to everything from the movie, like the design and exclusive characters like Ivan Ooze and the one monster that looked like a pig. Weird that the suits can't be used in the TV shows, but since 2016, they've allowed they're allowed to put on display at Power Morphicon. I think if the suits were allowed in the TV show, maybe as I think if the suits were allowed in a TV show, maybe as actual power ups instead of the pointless metallic armor, which was basically glitter. I know from behind the scenes, the movie suits were often falling apart, where you could see the helmets opening up like Aisha's. It would have been so cool if the show had the exclusive weapons like Billy's Stega Stinger and Kimberly's Thunder Whip. I was a big fan of those weapons, as well as Rocky's night vision scope. The Aisha flashlights are the ones that come to mind when I see them. The suits themselves were so muscular and bulky that both the actors and stunt actors dealt with back pain and often were soaked in sweat whenever they took off the suits. Anyways, just watching a film again was very fun and classic MMPR. What do you remember watching the MMPR movie as a kid, even now as an adult? I remember the extreme sports in it. Like I remember the parachuting, or at least the skydiving. I thought that was actually pretty cool to see the Ranger team. Like, man, not only are they extreme at martial arts, but they skydive also. Like, oh my God, they can do everything. And then as a kid who always wanted a pair of rollerblades, just seeing them rollerblade around Angel Grove was pretty fun. Also, a really cool opening to kind of get you hyped as a Power Ranger fan. But the costumes always stood out to me. They'll probably still will always be one of my better favorite Power Ranger costumes that we've had. It is a shame that they never got the opportunity to be translated. I still like these suits honestly better than the 2017 Power Ranger movie. And again, I wasn't one that really complained about the 2017 Power Ranger suits, but I'm sure a lot of people definitely did. They always reminded me of very alien symbiotic, or at least like Guyver almost, in its design at least. I do wish that they were executed better on screen, though, and so I think that's why the 1995 MMPR suits just still hold up so incredibly well to this day. They hold very true to the classic MMPR, but an actual upgrade, and they looked like they were made for the big screen. And I absolutely was hyped about this movie when it certainly came out. So, yeah, man, I don't remember. It's probably been maybe like 3 or 4, might be a little, maybe like 5 or 6 years since I revisited it. We did a watch along for the channel. I don't know if the watch along is still up here on Hero Report, but I can't remember when I recorded that watch along, but it had to be like 4 or 5 years ago. So maybe it's time for a rewatch then, Adrian. And you know what? This might be the last question, guys. Carter Matthews for the rest of the day. And then if anything, so yeah, Carter Matthews will be the last question here. And once again, we're going to start off our live viewer question video with the most talented man in the world. I suck my own balls. We'll be starting off with you, and then Francois, Roberto, and then we'll certainly work our way up. So if not tonight, then sometime tomorrow, myself or Stuart will record live viewer questions for you guys, and we'll drop that on Tuesday. So look forward to the remainder of your questions on Tuesday. But to wrap up, Carter Matthews, whatever happened to Michael B. Jordan's produced Static Shock film? Is it had it been paused, or is it still in development? That's a good question. Michael B. Jordan, Static Shock. So I will say this. James Gunn recently did state Static Shock is still happening. Back in 2020, Michael B. Jordan was announced to produce a Static Shock movie for Warner Brothers in DC. This was according to the Hollywood Reporter, who went ahead and reported the news. Since then, a lot has definitely changed. We got new management now. If anything, I would say, I don't know if Michael B. Jordan is producing it. Let me see if he's still producing it. What's the last article we got? 2000. and 21. The Direct had an article last year, September 2022. Warner Bros. Is in the midst of major changes behind the scene. With so many projects being canceled, fans are rightly wondering what is the fate of the Static Shock movie. Let me see. Yeah, so over 2 years ago, they confirmed that it was in development. A couple months later, in October, they revealed that Michael B. Jordan would serve as the producer. He says, "I'm proud to be building a part of building a new universe centered around Black superheroes. Our community deserves that. Outlier Society is committed to bringing to life diverse comic book content across all platforms." And they got Randy McKinnon, who joined as the writer, but that was announced back in March of 2021. So look, I will say this. Whether or not Michael B. Jordan is still going to be producing it is a question in and of itself. I do believe very much that James Gunn is going to be doing a Static Shock movie. Somebody on Twitter did ask him that very question, and James Gunn's response was yes. Whether or not that's the same Michael B. Jordan produced Static Shock movie, or if they're taking their own liberties and doing something else completely different, but still Static Shock, who knows? There's a part of me that still believes Michael B. Jordan would be attached as producer. I think if you're James Gunn, he's an incredible talent, and he definitely wants to do something for the Black culture. Why not bring somebody that's a huge fan favorite like Static Shock to the big screen? I've been really pushing for this because of the fact that I would like to see some milestone comic book characters be brought to life at some point in time. You know, we're getting Wildstorm comics characters introduced in The Authority that's slated to be a DC film by James Gunn. So if you can bring in Wildstorm characters, why not somebody like Milestone Comics? I think they've got some really cool characters there, like Icon, who is sort of like the Black Superman of that comic line. You got Hardware, who is sort of like the Iron Man also of that world. And you got somebody like Static Shock that originally, if I'm not mistaken, came from Milestone Comics before becoming a huge part of sort of DC Comics and even something like DC Animation. So as far as I know, Static Shock is still on the table, according to James Gunn. What Michael B. Jordan's connection or involvement is with that I definitely don't know. But we'll see what happens there. Shout out to Enviro Earth. What's up, Enviro Earth? He says, I'm talking about The Flash later. So we actually did already discuss The Flash earlier today. We've been on for about 2 hours, 50 minutes. The Flash stuff was like maybe our second main topic that we discussed. We did discuss some CW stuff, some Flash stuff, and some Arrow stuff. If anything, once we wrap up, I'll go ahead and put a timestamp on here for you. But if anything, probably maybe around the 45-minute to an hour mark, you might find the Flash material, in which we certainly talked about. But yeah. But I'm with you, Carter. I definitely do hope that that movie continues to happen. I really want to see it. So I am expecting it in development, but it's definitely going to certainly take its time in happening. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in some of these particular questions that we've had. Definitely let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. But other than that, guys, that will do it for me here today. Thank you so much for everybody that definitely joined us. Shout out to Indy for being here today. Also, Stuart. Unfortunately, we're not able to finish today's episode with us, but we definitely appreciate them being able to get through majority of these topics and these questions as well. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for me here. If anything, we do have some other content for you guys this week. We did not have a new episode of Gotham Knights this past week. I did not know that. I honestly went to go watch the episode on Tuesday, only to be bummed out that we wind up getting ourselves a repeat. So a new Gotham Knights episode will be dropping this week. You can expect a review The Flash has its final episode. Indy's going to be doing a review of the 4-part conclusion altogether this week. So definitely stay tuned for that. I don't know the situation of Superman and Lois, if there's a new episode this week or if they had one last week, but we definitely will certainly have some new content headed your way throughout the week for you guys, along with your live viewer question videos to answer the remaining questions dropping for you guys on Tuesday morning. So definitely look forward to that. If I don't see you again, I'll definitely see you guys next Sunday for another episode of A Plus Hero Report. And check out some of our links in our description box below if you want to join our Discord forum, if you want to follow us on Spotify, or even check us out on social media. Right up here at A Plus Opinions, very active over on Facebook, which is our main page for all of our source of news, trailers, posters, etc. You can also check us out over on Twitter as well as Instagram as well, guys. So like our video, subscribe to our channel, share these videos if you continue to love our content, but we appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, do me a big favor as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.